What a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. How are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website where 100% of the revenue stays right here in the lovely province of Alberta and gets roads running. And hey, nobody won last night. Lotto Max Friday. 80 million and 20 max millions. That's an extra 20 mil of 20 of those for 1 mil. So lots of opportunities for you to win at playalberta.ca. We have a loaded show for you today. I can't wait. Mike Rupp will be by, as he always is, on Wednesday on a busy night in the NHL. 15 games tonight. Oilers, one of the few teams not playing. They had a day off today. Kind of a quirk in the schedule, but lots of games. Of course, there's no games tomorrow as it is Thanksgiving in the United States, and the NHL electing to load up 15 games today and then 14 on Friday and 12 on Saturday. So there'll be a boatload of games for you outside. You can watch a little football if you want tomorrow, the triple header in the National Football League. The Detroit Lions, winners of 9 in a row, will kick off the action tomorrow. We'll run down those games a little bit later on today. Spec will be by a little bit earlier today. He's jumping on a flight, so he'll join us in the first hour. We got Yaremchuk later on. Also, second episode of The Business of Sports with Rich Winter. Went over very well. Our guest today will be the Hall of Famer, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, Ken Holland. And we'll have a little story time with Ken. We'll also just talk about, the business of being a GM and, how it's evolved and changed and, what doesn't work and maybe what works, etc. Ken Reed will be by later on. Also, Brian Diardo will join us to talk a little football. The Elks continue their search for a head coach. The names we've talked about getting interviewed this week include Rick Campbell, Maximic, young Jordan Maximic, of course. You'll have Jarius Jackson will have an interview later this week to see if he can retain the interim head coach. I think it's very low chance, if I'm being bluntly honest on that. You owe him the respect to interview for the position, no question. But I would be surprised if he would he take another job on the staff? That remains to be seen. Depends who the head coach is. So we'll see. There's, I'll say this. The Elks coaching staff, I won't be surprised. Mark Killam's the other guy that they got on the head coaching gig interview this week with Ed Hervey. Chris Morris as well. And although Chris Morris, I don't think is going to be involved as heavily in the interview process, right? He said it before. It's like, hey, man, I hired Ed. It'd kind of be dumb not to let him run it, which makes sense. And I could see a decision being made here definitely before December 15th, maybe as early as next week. But I think sometime in December, early December, they will have an announcement for the head coach and then some of the other staff. There's lots of possibilities of guys out there that you will want for positions: wide receiver coach, linebacker coach, D-line coach, etc. Right? And I think there'll be some names that green and gold fans are familiar with on that staff. I think that is something hey, JC Sherritt has, he's been a pretty good coach already, but he's somebody who understands, as Chris Morris said, the Eskimo way, something that they'd like to bring back in. You don't need everybody, but I won't be surprised if there's a few position coaches under the head coach who have ties to this organization in the past. Late night in the National Hockey League last night, and really, let's be honest, I don't know if any of you slogged through watching those games last night, but the Canucks, they ended up with 15, but they had 12 shots for the majority of that game. Montreal had 13. It was not a banner night for exciting hockey last night. The Canucks do get a victory. Jake DeBrusk scores the game winner in a 2-0 victory in his former hometown of Boston. Meanwhile, Utah, who the Oilers play on Friday, got an overtime victory over the Montreal Canadiens, and they were on the road. Utah will come home now after a long road trip. The Oilers will face them. And Utah, now, they're out. 2 of their top 4 defensemen are out, and they've been out for a long time. Their penalty kill is in the ditch right now. They've allowed 10 power play goals in their last 10 games. If there was ever a time for the Oilers power play to get off the schneid and wake up, it's got to be this weekend. And I wrote it today at OilersNation.com. Went in depth on the Oilers power play. And trust me, this has been the greatest power play the NHL's ever seen. Now, they tied the New York Rangers for the best power play over a 5-year span at 28.5%, both the Oilers and the Islanders. Islanders from 78 to 82, very good. The Oilers, of course, from 20 to 24, elite. Now, the Oilers also had the greatest single-season power play in NHL history in 2023 at 32.4%. They had 29.5, 27.5, 26, 26.3. It's been excellent. They're 5% better than every team in the NHL over a 5-year span, except for Tampa Bay, 24.9, Toronto, 24.4, and the Rangers at 24%. Like, they're 4% better than, like, that's a significant number. Significant number over that time. And here's the thing, though. You look at the Oilers power play. Now, did I expect it to stay at 28.5% forever? No. Eventually, it would come down. But I didn't expect it to plummet to 15.8%. The Oilers have scored 9 power play goals. Only St. Louis and the Islanders, who each have 8, have scored fewer power play goals. The Oilers are 26th in power play efficiency. They're 31st in shots per 60. And that's what's killing them. They're not getting any shots. This has been the team who, for those previous 5 years, you know what they did? They shot the puck, and they shot it a lot. 4th most last year, first, second most the 3 previous years. Right? Their shots per 60 ranged from 60.5 up to 67. You know what they're at this year? 39.5. That is that's a 33% reduction. Guess what? High volume shooting teams on the power play usually have success. Unless it's too many shots on the blue line. And there's not many teams that do that. New Jersey Devils this year are a little bit of an outlier. Dougie Hamilton's firing a ton of pucks on goal, and they got a good power play. But it doesn't. Usually, you want your shots coming from your flanks and your wingers, or in the slot from your forwards. That's just how it is. And the Oilers have dominated there. And so I went through those last 5 years. Now, the last 3 years, the Oilers, well, really, you've had Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Draisaitl for the last 3 years. Bouchard, this is really only his second season running the power play. Remember, Tyson Barrie was there the year they set the record up until he got traded at the deadline. Now, Bouchard played some minutes on there, was split a little bit, but it wasn't full-time Bouchard. It is now. And, they've had James Neal, Alex Chase on before in the net front presence, and they still were pretty good power play at 29.5% when Neal and Clefbaum were there. And then it was 27% when it was Chase on and Barrie, 26 Hyman and Barrie, 32.4 when it was Hyman, Barrie, and Bouchard, kind of splitting on the back end. And then last year, solid 26.3% with the same 5 that they've started this season with. But Leon Draisaitl basically is their main go-to shooter. The last 4 seasons, his shots per 60, 19, 18.7, 19.8, 18.97. You know what it is this year? 9.1. He's half as many shots off the stick of your best shooter. And not just the best shooter on the Oilers, the best power play shooter in the NHL. Over the last 5 years, from 20 to 24, Ovechkin had 488 shots on the power play. McKinnon had 450. Draisaitl was third with 426. But you know who had the most goals? Leon Draisaitl. And it wasn't close. He had 108. Next closest is Sam Reinhart with 74. We're not talking look at Ovi had 50 more shots over 5 years. It's not a huge difference. But look at the goal total. Draisaitl was the most dominant sniper on the power play. They fed him a lot. He got open a lot, and they dominated, and he scored. But now he's not getting shots. And there's a few reasons. And it's not, you can't just say, well, they're taking away the seam pass. Well, we can't find Draisaitl. What the hell are you talking about? He's the best weapon on the ice at 5-on-5 on finishing. Fact, the numbers don't lie. Get him the puck. Move him around. Get him to the slot. Get him on the opposite side if you have to. Switch it up. Get the puck more on the stick of Leon Draisaitl. Him and Connor McDavid, they've always been the two catalysts. There's no reason not to be. But right now, when you watch teams, watch how they're really trying to funnel so McDavid enters more on Nugent-Hopkins' side of the ice. And then Nugent-Hopkins, like his shot right now doesn't have the same zip. Now, he had the one shot where he hit the bar in Montreal. But other than that, we haven't seen it. Now, all of them, except McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins, Hyman, Bouchard, all of their shots per 60 are down from last year. And in some cases, by a large margin. Hyman was 14.73. He's basically at a half at 7.65. Bouchard was at 12.4. He's down to 6.95. Nugent-Hopkins was 8.3. He's down to 6.4. Only McDavid, who was 14.58 last year and is 14.52 this year, is the same. Everybody else is down significantly. So they got to shoot more to a man, but mainly you got to get the puck on Draisaitl's stick more. And so this week, they did work on the power play one day, but I'm guessing they had some film work on it elsewhere. You got Chris Knobloch, you got Glenn Galton. They're not idiots. You watch all the film, you'll see what are the tendencies now that teams are doing. Okay, let's counter. You've had 5 days. You never get 5 days in a row. Usually you play a game. Sometimes you play the next night. If not, now you're preparing for a new team coming in the next day, right? You don't have as much time to really look at stuff. They've had this week. So you go into Utah on Friday. Utah is not good on the power plays. I mentioned they've allowed 10 power play goals in their last 10 games. It's not good. Colorado is 28th in the NHL at 71.9, and they're 75 in their last 10 games. They really haven't improved. So neither one of these penalty kills should give the Oilers fits. You should, if there is ever a time for them to get off the schneid, it's got to be this weekend. And if it isn't, then I think the coaching staff has no option but to change personnel. It's reached too far. Like if they weren't going to be number one in the league, that's fine. They weren't number one last year. They're still 26.3. It's very good. But their shots per 60 are 31st. They're 30th in goals. Their percentage is 27th, 26th. Like, you can't fall off that much and be okay with it because they still have too much skill. So when I look at what has to improve for the Oilers moving forward, it's going to be their power play. And when it does, I think the wins will come with it. Here's the fun stat of the day. So the Oilers have played 383 games from 2020 to 2024. 383. And in that time, they've had 2 games where they scored 4 power play goals. They had 10 games where they scored 3 power play goals. And they had 72 games where they scored at least 2. Do the math. That is 84 games. That is 22.5% of their games. Almost 1 out of every 4 games, they're scoring at least 2 power play goals. So they get hot, and their power play would win them games or keep them in games. You know how many games this season they've had even 2 power play goals? 0. So you go from 22.5% of your games over a 5-year period down to 0. They've only had consecutive games with a power play goal twice. Pittsburgh and Carolina, and then Vancouver and the Islanders. And they went 3-0-1 in those games. But they've never really got into a rhythm on the man advantage this year. And when I look at everything this week, when I watch that game on Friday night against Utah, now they could get more power plays too. Their power play opportunities per game is down the lowest it's been in a long time at 2.59 per game. Right? The highest they ever had was 3.22 the year, 3.35 when they set the record. But, they're 2.96, 3.11, but they're down at 2.59. So almost a half a power play a game. All right. Over the course of the year, that's another 40. You don't get into as much of a rhythm. So that's a part of it. But it's not the main part. Get the puck on Draisaitl's stick. And I don't care how you do it. Move him around. Get him in different positions. Work on some different setups. I'm going to be curious because we've seen this team do it. Right? Glenn Galton's no idiot. You run the best power play for 5 years, you know what you're doing. So I look at them And I'm very curious to see. We've seen them bring out new wrinkles in the past, right? Last year, the new wrinkle they had was getting Hyman. He would stand at the side of the net. Sometimes it would go off his leg, but other times he was right there, and teams had a tough time defending it. Now, they focused on taking it away early, so come up with different things. You're skilled enough. We know you are. And that's what I would watch for the Edmonton Oilers and see where it goes. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we will hear from Mike Rupp on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You can text us, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440 in our email inbox.
We've finished construction of our gamma radiation containment facility. Is it up to code? Is it going to be safe?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Testing team reporting. We test your commercial operations using tools like infrared to ensure safe operation. Trust us to prevent potential calamity before it strikes.
Facing an electrical mess, all the men in action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310-GLASS or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
You've heard people say dream big and think about your future. Well, at GS Construction, we live by those words every day. You see, GS Construction lays pipes in the underground systems in your area. So we don't just think about today. We think about tomorrow and the future of Edmonton's communities and neighborhoods, the places we call home and the places we will call home. We're there when new neighborhoods are developed and return when it's time to replace them. For more on what we do, go to gsconstruction.ca.
Ain't it beautiful?
What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction in sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Weather forecast? Ugh. Savings forecast? Cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 Select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Saturday night at 7, load the stands at Rogers Place because your Edmonton Oil Kings face off against the Prince George Cougars for United Against Cancer Night.
Help raise awareness and unite in the fight against cancer. There will be an equipment raffle benefiting Sorrentino's Compassion House. Plus, fans in attendance will be given signs where they can write who they fight for as we stand against cancer. United Against Cancer Night, Saturday at 7.
Oil Kings and a rare visit from the Prince George Cougars.
Great family fun entertainment at Rogers Place starts at just $20 a seat. Save on day of game pricing now at oilkings.ca.
Delicious news. The McDonald's meals you love are now $9.99 every day. Grab your faves like the Big Mac, 6-piece McNugget, McChicken, or Filet-O-Fish with medium fries and a medium fountain drink for $9.99 each plus tax. At participating McDonald's restaurants in Edmonton, Alberta, and the surrounding area, prices exclude delivery.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I want to talk to you about your roof. Actually, I'm talking about the roof on your house. If your roof were to spring a leak, how soon would you want to fix it?
Pretty much the instant you discover it, Rick.
That's right, Bob. The damage it can do to your home is measured in minutes, not weeks. But if you have a leak in your RV while it's stored away for the winter, this can lead to catastrophic problems because you wouldn't even know what's happened until spring with months of damage already done.
Manufacturers recommend a roof assessment at least every year.
Right again, Bob. That's why Noble RV offers free roof assessments every fall. We'll climb up there and check the condition of your RV's roof and give you a detailed report in writing. That way, you'll know if your RV is ready for another harsh northern Alberta winter. It's a free service we provide, and it could save you thousands in repair costs down the road.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. This is one big deal for one big pizza. Get an extra large New York style one topping pizza for only $17.99. Order today at papajohns.ca.
Sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Hello, welcome back. Wednesday afternoon, Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook and X, Instagram. Thanks as always for watching and listening. And hey, busy night in the NHL tonight. 15 games. So use the promo code Gregor50. You'll get a free $50 play at playalberta.ca. Let's go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's Dollar Coffees. That's right. They've lowered the price. You can get dollar coffees and Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, the Fan Day deals. $4 Big Macs, McChicken, or filet of fish, but only when you order it through the McDonald's app. As we welcome to the show, Stanley Cup winner, ace analyst for the NHL Network, as well as color analyst for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Mike Rupp joins us once again. Rupper, a 15-game Wednesday night sked, so there'll be lots of storylines to discuss. What do you make it? Because I haven't talked to you since the Bruins made the coaching change, and 3 games in, it's like Joe Sacco and the Bruins said, we're literally going to try to win games 1-0 or 2-1 because it's been the most low-scoring, uneventful hockey that I can remember.
What's up, Greg? Yeah, no, you're bang on. I mean, scoring's been tough for them all year. It doesn't seem like it's getting any, I guess, better since the coaching changes happened. I know it's been, 3 games?
Yeah. 3 goals in 3 games.
3 goals in 3 games. I mean, I played in New Jersey with Marty Brodeur, and that would not have been acceptable for that team. So, yeah, I mean, you want more. I think in last night's game, though, they generated quite a bit. They probably deserved better. Kevin Lankinen was awesome for the Canucks. So I don't know off the top of my head without looking at the other 2 games. I don't really remember how much they generated as far as opportunities or chances. But I almost chalk it up to last night's game is when you're in a slump as a player and scoring's not falling your way or you're snake bitten, and you ask yourself, am I getting opportunities? Am I getting looks? They did get looks last night. So maybe that's a step in the right direction. But I mean, this is a team that we talked about last week. Like, I don't love the build of them. I don't think, even if they are generating more, they don't have closers on plays. They have David Pastrnak, and they've got some other really good players, but they don't have a team that's really going to be a threat offensively. So we'll see if they're able to start getting them in the fall, but it's been a tough few games.
Yeah. Oh, no. They don't have a lot of great offense. And right now, David Pastrnak looks like a shell of himself.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, at some point, it's hard to say this because the last few years they've done it, is we've always questioned the center ice. And it was always, remember when Bergeron was there, he obviously filled that void. Then there was no Krejci, and there was Krejci, and there was kind of going back and forth, and they haven't had those guys. Last year they still were able to generate, but they had a lot of players I feel like having some pretty good years. But yeah, I feel like I feel like as an opponent right now, the last number of years you've been going in there and you're circling number 88 on the board. You know that to beat the Boston Bruins, you got to keep him in check. I feel like even more so now, if you even got a thumb on him at all, they're done. Like that, if you don't let him have a field day, he's done, and the team's not going to win. And I wonder too, as great as players are, you got to feel offense to be in that mode, and they're not feeling much offense right now.
No, none whatsoever. One team that is feeling it, and actually 2 teams going in complete opposite directions right now are going to go head to head tonight. You got the Toronto Maple Leafs without Austin Matthews, who are just killing it. They're 7-1. And they're in Florida against the champs who have lost 6 of their last 7 games. And Paul Maurice is pulling out the F-bombs, 15 of them in a 15-second span of practice to try to get his team's attention.
That's worked in the past with Paul Maurice, and he gets fiery, but he does it in a way I would love to play for him when he has some of those tensions, just because he just has a different way of doing it. But yeah, I mean, they've gotten sloppy. Their penalty killing has been, I mean, no other way to put it. It's been horrific over this last stretch. I did a little breakdown of them the other day. There's lots of things going wrong. Just some of the details, the neutral zone. I mean, the last few games, you have the opponent that's making one pass from either behind their net or below the top of the circles in the opponent's zone, and it's one pass springing for breakaways, 2-on-1s. That the layers that they usually have on their defense up the ice hasn't been there. So I think that's the biggest thing is the details have slipped. I would expect them to get going, get back on track. But this is a game for me that the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you imagine how good they've been without Austin Matthews, they have been trending under Craig Berube as being a different team, better defensively. I think this is a game right now, regardless that Florida has been kind of struggling to find their game. This is a game like, hey, everything we're working on right now, it's to beat teams like this come playoff time.
Right.
So I can't wait to see what the Leafs bring to the table in South Florida. I expect this to be a barn burner.
Yeah, no, it's totally valid. Like there are certain games in the year that are a little bit more of a measuring stick than other games. It's just how it is, right? And then another team. Now, not that they're in the same division at all, but the Buffalo Sabres come home. They get Tage Thompson back in their lineup, and they're on a little bit of a streak here. But they got one of the best teams in the NHL in Minnesota coming in. What do you make of the Sabres and where they're at, Rupper? And are you a believer?
Nothing's changed as far as their talented group. I'm not a believer yet. I still need to see more. I think I've seen still some bad hockey from them this year. They're playing really well right now. They're going. I feel like the Sabres are one of those teams that can they get in the playoffs? Absolutely, they can get in, but I think they will need other teams to fizzle. And is that the Washington Capitals? Is that you can name some teams that you wonder where they're going to be at when you get to game 40, game 60. Buffalo is one of those too. So I think they can get in. I think they need a little bit of help because I just don't think that they have the details of their game. They're not a team that defends generally well. Offense will dry up at some point. Can they pivot when that happens? So they're fun to watch. Maybe I'm dead wrong. Maybe they're finally taking that next step. But I feel like we've kind of seen this movie before. We've seen this team get hot for stretches. Come talk to me at maybe game 50.
Okay. The Rangers, you know what? They came in Edmonton. They got spanked last week. Then they come home and lose. Now they got the red hot Hurricanes, the NHL's leading scorer right now, and Marty Natras coming to town tonight. Now the Hurricanes don't have any goaltenders, right? They're down to their number 3. What do you make of the rumblings of the Rangers, like moving Chris Kreider? That seems like an odd one. I'm not sure that would be the guy I would be moving. He's second on their team in goals. Like I know he has no helpers, but big body, can skate. He's a guy who's kind of built for the playoffs. Like, what am I missing on that? Like that rumor didn't make any sense to me. Trouba, we've heard now for 5 months, but why Chris Kreider?
I think this was to rattle the boys in the room. Chris Kreider's the most beloved guy in the room. I mean, even to the point where you're saying too, Chris Kreider, I mean, he's an all-time Ranger. His number's probably going to be up in the Raptors at MSG when it's all said and done. And the other part with it too, when you look at what the money he makes, it's a pretty good deal. He's on a great team-friendly deal. So for me, I think the last person you're probably looking to move is Chris Kreider, but I also think they're trying to get everybody to snap to attention here because this is a team that they're lost right now, Greg's. Like you saw them in Edmonton. They're a team right now that just doesn't play with much passion. It's like if Igor's not lights out or Jonathan Quick going in being lights out, like they're not winning. They're not defending well. This is a big game. I almost can guarantee you're going to have tonight's game. Carolina is going to be pushing 50 shots on goal. That's what they do. The Rangers give up a ton. You're going to get 25 shots on goal or whatever for the Rangers, and they're going to need Igor Shesterkin to steal them one. And this game could get ugly if the Rangers don't start paying attention to the details of their game and playing with more pizzazz.
Mike Rupp joins us. Rupper, he got banged up early, missed some games, but Macklin Celebrini's come in now. And man, since he's returned from that injury, that guy looks like a real player. And I've seen some people asking questions early on, and I know one guy's struggling. But see, like I'm just going to preface this. I never liked the people who even remotely tried to compare Connor Bedard to Connor McDavid. It was ridiculous. He's not Connor McDavid. But I'm seeing people already say, hey, I think Macklin Celebrini might be better than Connor Bedard. What say you from early views of both players?
I could see it. I mean, I'm not going to crown him with that yet, but his competitive nature, I mean, he's hard on pucks. He's scrappy. There's certain attributes he has physically that I think give him some advantages. But I can't forget, like, Connor Bedard might be going through it a little bit right now, but he's a hell of a player. Like, this is a guy that, and that team really, quite frankly, they stink right now in Chicago. And I know they made some changes trying to help out their team. It's a bad hockey club. San Jose, on the other hand, is supposed to be bad, but they play hard. Like, they're a fun team to watch right now, and I think Celebrini is a big reason why. But there's a conversation there for sure. I love what I've seen from Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah, he, a good young player. It's nice to see him healthy, and we'll see where it goes for the San Jose Sharks. They're on a little bit of a roll here. Him and both him and Smith are starting to look a little bit more comfortable in the National Hockey League. But Celebrini's quietly got 10 points in 12 games as a rookie after missing 12 games due to injury. Mike Rupp joins us here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. The Columbus Blue Jackets, Zach Werenski. It's a quarter pole, but he would be right up there with Cale Makar for the Norris Trophy. He's had an unreal year. He's got a team that's playing 500 hockey, who probably has no reason to be a 500 hockey team. And, tonight they got Montreal, so, good chance to go ahead. What do you make of this Blue Jackets team and how scrappy they become? I think we lost Rupper. Or, you know what? He's got nothing left to say. He's like, I'm out. We'll try to get him back. We'll see. But you don't suddenly, the Blue Jackets are not do I think they're a playoff team? No. But with everything that has gone on in that organization, now I don't love what they're doing with Yurcek. I think that's a trade that has regret written all over. You know that meme that's online, the guy says no regrets and regrets spelled wrong? That, to me, is exactly what would happen for Columbus. You can say, hey, you know what, whatever, it's reached this point, but it didn't have to get here. And you don't have to compound your mistakes. Be honest, say, you know what, we erred. Let's get you going. Let's get you playing. But they opted to claim Dante Fabro on waivers and put Yurcek in the minors. That's what they're just. So essentially, they said, we're going to take Fabro over Yurcek at this point, which means it might be goodbye to Yurcek long term. So we'll see what they can get in return. But man, that is a big guy like that who turns 21 tomorrow. 21. He is a pup, and he's huge. Bigger guys, European players coming over to North America, they take more. 22, 23. This, I'm telling you right now, a few years down the road, people will say, why did they trade Yurcek? And I'm hearing that the Minnesota Wild and Billy the Butcher Guerin are interested. Remember, they got Brock Faber out of LA. Now, they gave up Fiala, pretty good player. But he's a winger, a smaller winger. He ain't a center, and he's not a D-man. If Bill Guerin is going to somehow land Yurcek as well, are you kidding me? Give Guerin credit, man. He has no F's given. Made 2 big buyouts. Will stay competitive. And they have been. They've been a pretty competitive team considering that they got almost $15 million in dead cap space for the last few seasons. And this is the last year. Next year, they're out of jail. Now you have Faber's contract kicking in. Fine. They'll have some other guys, but still, that puts them on no more $15 million dead cap space. And a GM who is not afraid to make some moves. But if he lands them, that is that. And by the way, they also got Jake Middleton for a song and a dance. That's an organization that's made some really good moves so far on the blue line and changes your team. No question about it. So, hey guys, do you think the Oilers could get Yurcek? My understanding is no. Talk to a person in Columbus, and they kind of have what they're looking for. And if you look at Edmonton's roster, there's nothing that fits in for what they want. They want a young player similar age as Yurcek. The only guy that would be is Matt Savoy. And they're not going to trade a 6'6" defender for a smaller forward. It's not happening. So there's no one else in the organization who fits that. And there'll be other teams that will offer players in that realm. So Oiler fans can get mad when the trade, why didn't our GM do it? If you don't have the assets, you can't do it. And we can't play what if this happened? What if they kept this guy? And what if? Can't what if. Just Do they right now have the assets that Columbus is looking for? I was told no. So I would be floored if the Oilers are the destination. Quick break. We'll come back. Mark Spector will join us next on the Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook, as well as sports1440.ca, presented by playalberta.ca.
Some places offer small Black Friday sales, but at Wolf GMC Buick, we go big, baby. All in-stock 2024 models are on sale. Get 0% financing up to 72 months on the amazing GMC Sierra Half-Ton. Employee pricing on 2024 GMC Sierra Heavy Duties and Yukons. 0% financing on Buick Encores. There's even more. Get a limited time offer of up to $1,000 Black Friday bonus on in-stock GMCs, Buick SUVs, and pickups. Wolf GMC Buick, seconds from the Anthony Henday. Get it now, because these deals are on for a very limited time.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply. Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Center. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Center's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit edmontonexpocenter.com today.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Delicious news. The McDonald's meals you love are now $9.99 every day. Grab your faves like the Big Mac, 6-piece McNugget, McChicken, or Filet-O-Fish with medium fries and a medium fountain drink for $9.99 each plus tax. At participating McDonald's restaurants in Edmonton, Alberta, and the surrounding area, prices exclude delivery.
Diablo Boots in Canada West. 2 great names in work and cowboy boots. For over 60 years, Diablo has been selling the best-made Canadian boots. Diablo has boots from sizes 6E to size 15 EE, just for you. Why buy boots made in China like Ariat, Justin, or Red Wing when Diablo has the best quality for less, made in Canada? Diablo has work and cowboy boots with replaceable soles and heels for longer life. So, save on boots by Save On Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard, on the east side of Save On Foods. Hurry in today for best selection.
Portions of this hour brought to you by EWEL. EWEL.ca is your power play partner with a new website that puts the power in your hands with 24/7 ordering and shipping within Edmonton and across Alberta. Score an account today at EWEL.ca.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Everyone, welcome back on a busy slate in the NHL. 15 games tonight. No Oiler game, though. They are one of only 2 teams who get the night off. Oilers will be back in action Friday in Utah, then Saturday in Colorado, and they wrap up their 3-game road trip next Tuesday in Vegas. Always entertaining games in Vegas. But you'll have no shortage of games tonight if you want NHL. Also, the CHL NCAA series wraps up Canada victorious last night. They'll look to sweep that 2-gamer tonight. You have Thursday football triple header tomorrow. Of course, it is Thanksgiving south of us, and big holiday down there. Now, let's get to the spec report brought to you by GS Construction. Underground infrastructure, extremely important, often overlooked. It doesn't devalue how important it is. And hey, do you want to work for a great company. Maybe you like, that's how you like to live, just where no one really knows what you're doing. Best place to do it. Go online to Indeed.com and look up GS Construction as Mark Spector joins us. It was set to go to Utah. Spec, I'm hearing maybe some flight delays for Mr. Mark Spector.
Yeah, good old travel day for your typical sports writer. I'm already delayed. I'm sitting in a Uber on the way to the airport. I think my flight just got canceled.
Oh, geez.
So we're pulled over. I'll do a radio hit, figure out my flight, and maybe just turn around and go home.
Well, that's never. Hey, at least you weren't at the airport and sitting there for 6 hours. But yeah, flight delays are the worst. That's
it.
Worst. Spec, I wrote an in-depth article today in the Oilers Power Play, and what hasn't been working, what's missing. The number one thing that's missing. So over the last 5 years, the Oilers have had the best power play in the NHL and tied the New York Islanders for the best power play over a 5-year span in NHL history at 28.5%. We all know they've been great. And during that time, Leon Draisaitl had the third most power play shots with 426, but he has the most goals by a large margin. He's at 108. The next closest is 74, in Reinhart. He's been killing it on the power play. He's averaged about 18 to 19 shots per 60. This season, he's down at 9. They're not getting that. Now, we know their shot totals are in the ditch. They're about 2/3 of what they've been for the last 5 years, right? They used to average around 60 to 65. They're down at 39 right now. It's terrible. And a lot of that's Draisaitl, but so are the other guys. And so we saw them work on the power play one day this week. I'm guessing they did a lot of film work off of the ice as well. And I think, we can talk about everything they got to do. You just got to find ways to get the puck on the stick of your best shooter.
Well, you do, and they don't need to describe to our listeners how he scores his goals. Everybody knows what he does. He stays, he shifts up and down from deep in the zone, and McDavid tends to be the one who finds them on a more of a set play, or sometimes when they do what they call their road hockey, when they start getting some shots and there's rebounds and loose pucks, and they, you fall a little bit out of, deployment.
Yeah.
He sits out there, and everybody in an orange and blue sweater knows if I get it, I know where to put it. So my question to you, Jay, would be, it seems very clear that the opposition has decided, if we're not going to let the Oilers power play beat us with their number one weapon, we're going to take that shot away. So if that shot's not there and he's guarded, and listen, if McDavid can't get him the puck, then no one can get him the puck. What's plan B? Do you put Draisaitl somewhere else? Or how do you get him the shots? I read your piece. How do you get him the shots you want him to get?
Well, I think for years, everybody knew Ovi wanted to shoot. They still found ways to get him the puck because you need the other guys. You got to move the puck quicker. And then Nugent Hopkins has to actually shoot the damn puck so the team starts to respect it and can't just overload it. And right now, Nugent Hopkins is fearful to shoot the puck. It's obvious. We've seen it. There doesn't seem to have the same pop on his shot, at least early on. And so it starts there. But you still let's get Draisaitl into the high slot. Get him into a bumper position. Look for different ways. You can't just say, well, we like the cross seam one time, or they've taken it away. We're just going to accept it. You can't do that.
Well, okay. Did I don't know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it. Did Ovechkin ever change his spot?
Yeah, Ovi went down there. There were times they would rotate around, and Ovi would be the net front presence at times in Washington. Yeah. Just now, sometimes as a decoy more than anything else. Or sometimes Ovi, if teams tried too hard to cut him off, now he was higher where Draisaitl was lower. That's the difference, right? And so sometimes Ovi, he would slide out just to suck the guy out and say, I'll be the decoy. And then the other guys, you know what? You had Kuznetsov, who's a very good guy, Backstrom, John Carlson, Oshie. Oshie was very good in the middle. So they moved it around. And then eventually the team would be like, well, God, we're getting murdered. So now we move over. And now Ovi gets his space. Boom. So it does take a team effort, and other guys have to do their part. And it would help if anybody scores, no question. But also Draisaitl, they'll have to move him around to different places too. He can, move it. If they're always overloading the right side right now, and then slide Draisaitl over to Nugent's spot, in the middle of the power play. Remember when McDavid used to just skate that whole loop? You talked about it the other day. Go out of the zone, come back in. We'll move Draisaitl over in the context of the power play and see if they can adapt on the fly.
Well, to me, I think this Utah game will be really interesting on that front because they've had a long time to go to town on this power
Exactly.
play. Right? They've had a long time just to do the video work, a little bit of practice time. We didn't notice anything in the practice, that was absurdly different than they've done before. But that, to me, after 20 games, it's time to make, you make the point. It's time to look at this thing and figure out why it's not working. It's not just a little bit cold. There's reasons why it's not working. So I'll be interested to see them come out in Utah on the power play and if, what they're doing. Glenn Gullickson's good at this. He's a good coach. And the guys on this power play know what they're doing. And they're smart and they're skilled. I would think that it's time probably to see some new wrinkles. And to be honest, I don't know exactly what they'll be. I don't think any of us do. But I'm looking for them. And I'll be interested to see what they are, Jay.
Well, and that's the other thing. They've done a great job over the years of always adding a new wrinkle. And just when okay, we got it figured out. Because I don't, when people say, they figured out the orders, and I'm like, pardon? So you're telling me after they were the greatest power play in history, teams didn't put extra emphasis to try to figure out their power play? Like, I don't buy it. Right now, Edmonton, it's okay to admit their power play isn't playing up to their potential. And when every power play should dictate what the penalty kill does, not allow the penalty kill to dictate what the power play does.
Well, and they still have to me, the ultimate weapon is their zone entry, right? McDavid is the human zone entry. And they get set up quicker and more consistently than any power play in the history of the NHL, as far as I would say. And in doing so, they get more seconds in their setup than everybody else. They don't have to make 7 passes before they're set up and comfortable. They tend to make about 2 or 3 tops and they're set up and comfortable. So that's a huge advantage, right? That's one of the major reasons why that power play is so good, because they don't get it iced very often. They have very few failed entries because McDavid's so good at it. And it's just all the more reason to have a better power play and score more goals. And there's no doubt, man, I think they're 24th or 26th right now?
26th in percentage.
Yeah,
30
26th in percentage.
31st in shots per 60.
Well, I'm not worried about shots too much. Like, obviously, if their shots are down, their shots are down. This team's always been, and this power play's always been, it's not been a shot volume.
Yes, it has, Spec. It's been the best in the NHL. Yes. Read my article. It's been first, second, first, and fourth the last 4 years in shots per 60. They fire a lot of shots.
See that.
Yeah, they fire a lot of shots.
Read it. I must have missed that part. Yeah. I'm surprised to see that because I know they pass around a lot and tend to and have often scored on their first shot. So anyhow, listen, it's kind of weird because they know what they're doing. They've proven over the long haul they know what they're doing, and all of a sudden it's not working, and they got to figure out why. And this will put them to the test a little bit. Do they come out of this thing doing the same thing but better, or do they come out of this thing doing something completely different? I can't wait to find out the answer.
Yeah, well, and the good news is they go up against 2 bad penalty kills. So they need confidence is a factor too. There's no doubt about it. The Utah has allowed 10 power play goals in the last 10 games. They're 75% there. They're 26th on the season. Colorado's 28th overall in the season, and at 71%. And they're only 7. Like, it's not like they're getting much better. Like, Edmonton's penalty kill is still only 30th, but it's been great for 7 games. It was just so horrific early that it's going to take them forever to climb up. Whereas Utah and Colorado have been consistently bad, right? And that's the difference. Like Utah, they're missing 2 of their top 4 defensemen, and they're going to be out for more months. Like, you can get by with that for a bit, but reality set in Utah, Spec. It's an obvious weakness on their team that they can't. It's hard to just go out there and snap your finger and find 1, never mind 2 top 4 defensemen. And so I like Utah coming out of this break. The Oilers are going to be massively rested. This is like the perfect game for them. There is no reason why the way they've played. Then you throw in if their power play can get a pulse. This should be easy is the wrong word, but this should be a pretty solid victory on Friday for the Oilers when you look at everything and the fact that Utah's coming home after a long road trip and they got the big Thanksgiving Day celebration with their families and everything. Like this whole game sets up for a win for the Oilers if they take advantage of it.
It does. Yeah. But that's the main thing. They're coming off a long trip out east. They're home. They get home they either last night or this morning. And then tomorrow morning, they have a day off today. I know this. They're planning on a little practice tomorrow morning. Utah is supposed to be there. And then they're going to have a Thanksgiving dinner. And then it's a game day the next day. So, yes, these are the games you got to win. Start your road trip with a win. You're a long ways to having at least a 500 road trip. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing if I ever get there. Trying to look forward to seeing the new rink there and the new atmosphere and a new team. And there's not many places in the league I haven't covered a game, but I got to tell you, Salt Lake City is one of them.
Have you ever been to? Or were you there for the Olympics?
I wasn't there for the Olympics.
Okay.
No.
So have you ever been to Salt Lake?
No, I've only been through the airport a bunch of times, but I've never actually been to Salt Lake City. No.
Okay, I stayed there. I stayed there one time, Spec. We had an extended layover when I was doing lacrosse games, and all I remember is when we landed at 8:00, I couldn't get anything to eat anywhere. It was like the whole place shut down, and that was my one memory, which wasn't good at all. Like it's like 8:30. I get if it was 11:00, but it was 8:30. And
right.
It was not good. At all, but
well,
I hear
it's better now.
Now I will say that scenically, because it was unbelievable. Like it is a place that I would like to go. I hear the arena is going to be great when it's all done. Right now they've got some not ideal seats, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but
they'll figure it
out. The atmosphere in the games, from talking to people who have been there, they say it's pretty good. Put on a pretty good show. It's obviously not Vegas, but it's not bad. And there's always, I don't care, your professional players. Sometimes change is good. And so it's a new rink they've never been to. You're coming off 5 days. Like the Oilers should have a boatload of jump on Friday.
Yeah. And you know what? Gary Bettman stuck with Arizona 10 times longer than all of us thought he should have. So that having said that, give them credit. They took a bad situation in Arizona, just a negative in the league, and turned it into an unbelievably good situation in Utah, right? They sold out those jerseys faster than they could make them. The place is sold out every night. The town is on fire for this hockey team, I'm told. Billy Armstrong, the GM, I talked to him yesterday. He said it's been beyond their wildest dreams. They got a massively, massively wealthy owner who's going to spend lots of money and wants to win. Comparing this in Utah to what they had the last several years in Arizona, I mean, it's like the ECHL to the NHL. It's not even close.
Now, what did he say, Spec, in your conversation with their GM? Like Alex Kerfoot's a UFA, Nick Bukestad's a UFA, Ian Cole, Oli Mata, even Robert Bortuzzo, but he's making nothing. Karel Vejmelka is, and he would be an intriguing one when you look at goaltending market for a lot of teams. Utah right now, especially with all the injuries, like barring a miracle here, they're probably going to be sellers again. Is he like? They don't need any more draft picks, right? At some point, they need more players. So what's his approach at all? Did you get into that?
I didn't really get into that, but I have talked to some people around there, and it's pretty clear. The main point you make is this: they've got, from their days in Arizona, they've got so many draft picks. They got too many. You can't have all those players. You can't draft that many players. Your system gets plugged up. So, they've also got a guy that's going to spend to the cap now in their owner. So that's good. So I would say to you that they're in a pretty admirable position in terms of relieving any team that wants to move a player and take draft picks in return. They're the first, Billy Armstrong's the first GM that's going to get a phone call. I would say to you that Karel Vejmelka is a nice goalie. Armstrong didn't tell me what he's doing, but I'm keeping that goalie. Every time I see him play, he looks fantastic. So I'm not letting him go. And, it's time to build a team there. It's time to get a little bit of I understand that, like, when you're trying to get guys to sign their long term, there needs to be some history. They need to be able to phone a guy that they know on the team, like Nick Bukestad, and say, Nick, what's it like living there? What's it like playing there? They've only been there 5 minutes, but so far everything is so positive that I have a feeling you're not going to have a hard time getting people to go there. And he's got the draft picks and the cap space and everything. Let's see how he can build a team, Jay. He's got everything he needs to build it. Now you got to build it the right way.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Spec, good luck on if your flight goes or not, and maybe it'll be it is planes, trains, and automobiles weekend, Spec. So hopefully you're not Steve Martin at the Air Canada counter. Why don't you wipe that bleeping grin off your bleeping face? It's one of the greatest scenes of all time.
Go Bears!
Those are pillows. Have a good one, Spec. That's Mark Spector. Oh, such a good movie. But what made the movie so great was there are people who have had travel issues that could relate to the frustration of Steve Martin. I don't care. I can watch that scene and I will laugh every time. There's so, and it's the soundtrack that goes with it. It's awesome. Oh, so good. Fantastic. We got a lot of texts to get to. 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440. Got your Remchuck coming up this hour. Next hour, the business of sports. Rich Winter, Ken Holland will be our guest in episode number 2. We had a lot of people, lots of great comments on episode number 1. So thanks for enjoying it. And we'll get to that and more. Also talk a little hockey. We'll hear from Darnell Nurse. One maybe a little subtle change that has to do more with Nurse and less about hockey that's allowing him to have some success. We'll discuss that and more after Connor Halley in a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. If you haven't already done it, you're behind the 8 ball. Get in, get your winter tires put on. I could change them, same. And right now you can get a select 4 tires, including Goodyear, and save up to $225 at Fountain Tire or fountaintire.com.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Busy night in the NHL. 15 games on the schedule, including the Wild and Buffalo Devils hosting the St. Louis Blues, Rangers in Carolina, Red Wings up against the Calgary Flames, Lightning taking on the Caps, the Leafs head to Sunrise to meet the Panthers, Islanders and Bruins, Canucks in Pittsburgh, Montreal taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Avs up against the Golden Knights, Jets in Los Angeles, and the Sens taking on the San Jose Sharks in the association. You've got the Heat, the Hornets, the Cavs taking on the Hawks, the Pacers hosting the Trailblazers, Rockets head to Philly to take on the Sixers, Knicks, and the Mavericks, and the Toronto Raptors in New Orleans to meet the 4-14 Pelicans. The Montreal Alouettes have signed quarterback Davis Alexander to a 3-year contract extension. He was set to become a free agent in February. He had a breakout season this year, posting a 5-0 record while starting while Cody Fajardo was injured. Former New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, who was cut from the team last Friday, stated he plans to sign with the Minnesota Vikings. The 6th overall pick in the 2019 draft was benched following the team's 2017 overtime loss to the Carolina Panthers in Germany. And the CHL announcing today that the Kelowna Rockets will host the Memorial Cup in 2026. Kelowna was awarded hosting duties for 2020, but the event was eventually canceled due to COVID-19. This year's event will be held in Rimouski, Quebec. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Tyler Yaremchuk of Oilers Nation and ask 5 questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
It's Sports 1440,
A Stingray radio station.
broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Are you watching the interest rates these days? Of course you are. Paying less interest leaves money in your pocket. That's why St. Albert Dodge is happy to tell you that right now they have 0% financing on virtually all new 2024 models. Hundreds to choose from: Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer, Dodge Durango, and Hornet, Ram 1500, 2500, 3500, all with 0% financing. Why pay interest? Head up the trail and see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Wow. Get ready for a Sally hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
It's Black Friday at The Brick. Doors open at 7 a.m. and the first 10 customers in line will receive a $50 credit to use towards any purchase. Plus, incredible door crasher specials until 9 a.m., like free local delivery on purchases over $499. Friday only. Save 65% off sofas when you buy the matching Love Seater chair. Plus, buy any TV or appliance and get a $50 credit on furniture, decor, and mattresses. Some exclusions apply. See thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Mr. Rooter plays a video game.
This is wonderful. A world where a plumber is the hero. My hat is off to you, Mario. Although I personally advise against eating any mushrooms found in a drain pipe. I won't make that mistake twice. All I've got to do now is hop over this Goomba and save the princess. What? No way. I pressed jump. I pressed jump.
For a super plumber with an all-time high score, call Mr. Rooter.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork.
Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantorque.com.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
Delicious news. The McDonald's meals you love are now $9.99 every day. Grab your faves like the Big Mac, 6-piece McNugget, McChicken, or Filet-O-Fish with medium fries and a medium fountain drink for $9.99 each plus tax. At participating McDonald's restaurants in Edmonton, Alberta, and the surrounding area, prices exclude delivery.
Could your school, charity, or community group use financial support with a capital project? Maybe Vision Credit Union can lend a helping hand. Vision proudly offers helping hand grants of up to $10,000 to qualifying organizations for capital projects that benefit our branch communities. Apply by January 31st, 2025 for a chance to qualify. Helping Hand grants up to $10,000 from Vision Credit Union. Learn more at whatsyourshare.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, your clear choice for residential windows, locally manufactured and installed. Crystal Glass provides a beautiful product and incredible customer services for all of your residential needs. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca for a quote.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just after 3 o'clock. Welcome back. Wednesday afternoon. Sports 1440, sports1440.ca. Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook and X. Thanks, as always, for listening and watching. Got a lot of text coming in on the power play. Many of you read the article, so we'll get to that. If you want, you can check it out, oilersnation.com. Today I broke down the Oilers power play, why it's been so great. And why I think that now, I'm not saying they can get back to being 28.5% over the next 5 years. It's pretty hard to do. But this should be a power play that is at least 22 to 25%. I don't, in today's NHL, with the skill they have, I see no reason why it can't be. So they're at 15.8%. They've yet to really go on a run at any point this year on their power play. They've only had two times where they've scored a power play goal in consecutive games. They've yet to score two power play goals in one game. Not even one. The last 5 years, they did it 84 times in 383 games. Huh. So that's 22.5% of the time, in case you're wondering. Almost one every 4 games, they're pumping out two power play goals. For a 5-year span, like that's not a small sample size. That's not anything. We got offered 10 games. No. That's a 5-year span of dominant power play success. And to just fall off a cliff like they have early on, but early on is slowly starting to become 30% of the season. That's why I don't know if we can use early on anymore with talking about the Oilers power play. It's 22 games. They got to kick it into high gear here a little bit. Get on a roll. Now, confidence might be a factor, no question. So we'll see. Does the break help them? We'll find out. 833-401-1440. We'll get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo Cars Edmonton, where right now, Black Friday pricing, baby. 0% financing on a lease for a 2024 XC90 or a 2024 XC90 plug-in hybrid. Highly recommended. Been driving one, man, and it's unbelievable. You plug it in at night. It's simple. Away you go and barely gassing up. It's awesome. Get one now at VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. You know what? There's been some areas of the team that haven't been so good. Darnell Nurse's last month of the season has been very good for the Edmonton Oilers, and had a chance to catch up with Nurse and just talk to him about how he's been playing, How I think anyway, just, playing some of his best hockey here in recent memory as of late.
Yeah, I think I'm playing more to know my capabilities, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think I came into this season just wanting to be effective all over the ice, and with me, I'm never going to be the perfect player, but the more aggression, more speed and pace, and that I play with, the more effective I am out there. So I'm just trying to play to my strengths.
It might seem like an odd question. You seem like you're more relaxed, which is kind of odd considering you guys went to the Stanley Cup final, got kind of so close and your heart broke. But you seem to be a little bit more relaxed and joking and laughing this year. Mm-hmm. Was that a concerted effort for you to enjoy the moment more?
Yeah, I think I want to enjoy the game, enjoy everything about it. You get into some of those heightened situations, and emotions get high, and it kind of takes you out of the element of enjoying the game and why you're playing. And for me, I came into the season and I thought to get back to myself, it's also enjoying the game that I play. And just trying to enjoy each moment of it.
Tied now for most amongst active defense with most shorthanded goals. What's the key to scoring shorthanded?
Surprise! I'm jumping at the right time. I think obviously we have killers that have some real good offensive instincts too. So whenever you're able to find those holes, a lot of times the power play is just thinking about scoring goals and not so much about defending. So if you can find the right spot to jump into, sometimes it results in a goal.
Last year, from really the time that Stewart took over the penalty kill, it was excellent. And then in the playoffs was obviously the best we've ever seen for a playoff. And you had a rough start, but now your penalty kill's back. What has been the difference that you've noticed, and how much more confident is the group on the PK now than early in the year?
I would say that the difference is just a familiarity with each guy out there. I think, when you come into new season, sometimes the pairs that you're killing with are a little bit different, whether it's defensively, offensively, and you're building that foundation. And I think when we're at our most effective, we're playing off instinct. It's obviously there's structure to it, but there's a lot of reading and reacting and knowing what the guy next to you is going to do. And that just doesn't happen overnight. That's got to happen over the course of, for us, it took a few games, but on top of that, just trusting each other and knowing that we're a good kill.
And for the longest time, this team, your power play was a major part, and I fully expect it to be, but at times maybe you relied on it. And it's not there, but your 5-on-5 play, all the underlying numbers look very good. What do you like so far about your 5-on-5 play, and what's the next step, 5-on-5, do you think, for this group?
Yeah, I think 5-on-5, I mean, our possession of the puck and being able to get into the O zone and create looks, I think has been pretty effective. I mean, the next step is putting the puck in the back of the net more often, right? And I think for us, that could be just a little level of simplicity, getting pucks in net and maybe getting a little more greasier goals, dirtier goals than some of the highlight reel ones that we score. So I think that's just kind of evolution of our game is simplify it a little bit in the O zone.
Yeah, well, it was interesting about Nurse that, trying to just have a little bit more fun, enjoy it. I think at times they're I know many of you aren't around the room, but Nurse is he seems a lot more relaxed around the room. And I think that's, some of us in life, right? We all get caught up sometimes in not enjoying where we're at, especially if you're in a pretty good situation. Like, hey, does Darnell Nurse want to play better? Yeah. And I think, he said, hey, I'm not a perfect player. There's part of that to say, hey, stop trying. He's never going to be a perfect player. He doesn't need to be a perfect player. He hasn't been a perfect player this year, and he's been very good. Now, of course, you know what? Fun sponges will look and say, yeah, but look at his goals against. But anybody can recognize that for the first 5 games, it was pretty heavy. Look at it since. And then I always like to say, okay, look at the goals against, and then let's go through the video and show, was he on the ice? Was he an impact in the goal against? Because sometimes you're on the ice for a goal against or a goal for, where you do absolutely nothing, good or bad, that results in the goal for or the goal against. It happens. And sometimes it happens twice in a game, right? You're covering your guy, your defense partner in front of the net, lets him hammer home 3 rebounds. There's not much you can do, right? So there's different situations. Sometimes, yeah, you'll be directly involved in the goals for certain. So it can give you an indication, but then you always have to look deeper. And especially nowadays with so much more data available, you can always dig a little deeper if you want to find out, okay, is the player playing this poorly? Are they playing worse than the numbers suggest? Are they playing better than the numbers suggest? And now I look at Darnell Nurse, and I just watch the games and then obviously go after and look at the numbers, and the numbers are really matching what we're seeing on the ice. Darnell Nurse has been really good for last month for the Edmonton Oilers. And the great part for them and him was he missed the game. He came back from the game and didn't miss a beat. Because that was a concern, was he going to lose the momentum he had after getting concussed from Ryan Reeves? And for the first game, no issues at all. And because and I've said this, and I know some people don't like to hear it, but I know McDavid and Draisaitl are going to do their thing, and I expect the top pair defense to be pretty good. When Darnell Nurse is a difference maker, it makes the Edmonton Oilers a much tougher out. Whether it's a difference maker in the playoffs, in the regular season. And sometimes you can be a difference maker negatively as much as positively. And so obviously it's more when you're a positive difference maker. And I think Nurse has been that very much as of late. And that makes a big difference for their team. I don't think there's any question about it. And he, I think he's been on the ice for only 2 goals against 5-on-5 in their last 9 or 10 games. Really good. Not to mention, shots for and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, goals matter more to me than shots for against, especially over a bigger sample size. And you get Nurse going, and him and Kulak have played well. He's kind of split with Stetcher at the same time, even a little bit of Emberson mixed in. They still don't have, I think, solidified D pairs. And that's something that they'd like to get to at some point. But I think Nurse's game, that's got to be one of the bigger positives. And once this power play sorts itself out, I won't be surprised if we see the Oilers going a little bit of a run. Hey, guys, do you think there's any chance Carlo would ever become available out of Boston? What about Rasmus Andersson? Well, Carlo has 2 more years after this year at 4.1. If he became available, I think it'd be a pretty valuable asset. He's got a great cap hit at $4.1 million. He's huge, hulking defenseman. If he's in your second pair on your right side, you're loving it. Rasmus Andersson, that's a tougher one for Calgary, especially the way they're playing. And, he's got a year left on his deal. Now, Calgary's, it's a good start. I'm still not convinced that it's sustainable considering they can never score more than 3 goals in a league that, you don't win 3-2 as much anymore. Now they are, but it's hard to do long-term in today's NHL. So do they have the offense to get it going? And I think in Calgary, it'll come down to if Rasmus Andersson wants to re-sign there, I think that will be the, a big part of why he'll be able to. So, hey guys, Nurse plays better at the puck moving D. Sekera is a prime example. His best season with him. This year, split between Kulak and Stetcher. Both can skate and move. The puck has been beneficial for him. Adam and Red Deer. Well, I'm not... That makes sense. Nurse moves the puck better than people think. Does he miss the odd pass? Yes. He still makes quite a few. He's an excellent transporter of the puck. There's no question about it. As for his best year with Sekera, was Sekera still here in 17-18? I got to go back and look. I can't remember if he was, because that was Nurse's first kind of really good season. And I don't know if Sekera... Yeah, no.
For 36 games.
But he wasn't the main guy. So actually, Darnell Nurse's first year with Sekera got caved because Sekera had to play the offside, and he couldn't play the right side. He was not good at all playing on the right side. So I think the memory's a little off on Sekera. That wasn't the guy. 2017-18, Nurse had a solid season. I think he actually played with Adam Larson a little bit that year, who's not considered a puck-moving guy, but they were a pretty solid pair. And obviously the 21 season, Nurse was excellent for the Oilers that year. Any player plays better if you have a puck-moving defender. I don't care who they are. But Nurse is kind of between, he can do both. He's definitely their best puck transporter. It's not close. And Stetcher's an okay puck mover. I don't think he's great at it. Kulak is good. Kulak's such a good mobile defenseman too. So I like it. But keep in mind, 2 years ago, Nurse and Ceci had an unreal season together. No one really talks about it, but they had great numbers. when they were playing all the tough minutes in 2023. They had a great year together. So I don't know if he always needs that. I think it's one of those things that gets repeated lots. It helps, but I don't think it's a must for me for Darnell Nurse. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Hey, boys, is Emberson a keeper or a trade bait? Nick M. Well, I don't see how he's trade bait. He doesn't free up any salary, right? He's making what, like $925? I've liked Ty Emberson. I have no problem with Ty Emberson's development here. He had played 30 games before the season began. He's just at 50 now in his career. Young D-man who's not going to command a lot of money. He's great on their penalty kill. I ain't trading Ty Emberson. I'm not even discussing it. He's on your first unit penalty kill right now, making less than $1 million. And since he got moved up there, they haven't given up a goal. No chance. He is a keeper all day for me. Hey guys, how much of Nurse's previous performance do you think was related to his undisclosed injury? Well, in the playoffs, I think some of it. That's valid. But I do think, honestly, last year in the because remember, when Paul Coffey took over with Knobloch, from November up until the All-Star break, Darnell Nurse was excellent. Go look at the numbers. He was fantastic. Then when he came back after that All-Star break, and from February 8th and on, he struggled. I know he got banged up a little bit in April, and so that might have played a role, sure. But coming out of the All-Star break, I don't know what changed. But if you go look at his numbers, those first 30 games under Knobloch, they're fantastic. He was playing great. So injuries will always play a factor. I think we saw that with Connor Brown. We've seen it with lots of other guys around the league. If suddenly you drop 2, 3, 4, 5% in just what you're capable of doing, that's going to impact some guys. Unless you're like elite of the elite. McDavid can play through an injury, and sometimes you don't really notice it. And even if he's, quote, having a bad game, now he's only a 1.2 point per game player. So, crazy. Hey, guys, I'm wondering, why wouldn't the Oilers have explored a trade for Broberg if they knew there was a good chance he was going to get an offer sheet? They likely wanted out regardless of what the GM was. That one comes in from Eric. Is there anything you think they could have done differently? It's a fair question. I don't know if they thought there was going to be that big of an offer sheet. Because keep in mind, up until the playoffs, Broberg had virtually no NHL resume and nothing that jumped off the page. And then he got into the playoffs and he played pretty well for less than 10 games. And St. Louis jumped on it and was like, hey, you know what? We're going to take a risk. And now, so in year one of this deal, because he's been banged up, we'll see how it ends. Is it going to be good value? Remains to be seen. He had a good start. Then he got hurt. And I thought when the contract, his next deal, which is likely going to be similar numbers, I think he has a much better chance of really living up to that contract. I think too often people, when it's like, let's sign everybody other ELC to long-term deals because you know what, you always get great value. Well, not always. There's lots of guys, first 3-4 years, they're not living up to the contract. But then the last year or two they do, and then that's all everybody remembers. But it's not the case. And so we'll have to see. But I don't think Edmonton thought Broberg was going to get an offer sheet of 4.6 during the playoff. Now, I could be wrong. I guess we can ask Ken Holland. We're talking about the business of hockey, but I think that'll be a question. But when you look back on things, you know, the guy had asked for a trade multiple times. So I think they probably thought, hey, maybe a trade was coming down. But then it wasn't his decision, right? Ken Holland left. So we'll find out from Ken in about 45 minutes. He's joining us today in the business of sports. We'll come back. Yaremchuk will join us. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Ain't it beautiful? The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary service you've come to expect and the affordable luxury only found with Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton. We all live in Canada, right? And we all know it gets cold, right? And every second that ticks by, it gets colder and colder. Well, GS Construction is prepared for that. GS Construction is the group that makes sure all those underground pipes that lead to and away from your home stay flowing. Because pipes freeze. You don't want that. So GS Construction has been hard at work as winter approaches, preparing our underground systems to run smoothly. To find out more, visit gsconstruction.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Excavators, loaders, lifts, compaction equipment, and more. Find the XCMG construction equipment you need. Available for rental or sale at Japa Machinery Group. Japa, helping build Alberta from the ground up for 50 years. Visit japamachinery.com.
This Saturday, 6 p.m. till midnight. Don't miss the 70th annual Kinsman Radio Auction. The Kinsman Club of Camrose invites you to join the fun and support their largest fundraiser of the year. Bid on a huge selection of items donated by generous local businesses. All proceeds will help the Kinsmen serve our community's greatest needs. The Kinsman Radio Auction. For details, find them on Facebook. You can also join the bidding in person this Saturday night. Main Street, Camrose, corner of 50th and 50th in the former Just For You building.
Barbecue lovers, this is the experience you dream of. Smoke, barbecue, and bar. Indulge your barbecue fantasies with fall-off-the-bone ribs, tender pulled pork, smoked chicken wings, and more. Featuring a variety of custom dry rub flavors. The cocktail menu brims with classics and new favorites to discover. For stylish corporate events or an unforgettably tasty night out, Edmonton's home for barbecue is Smoke Barbecue and Bar. Downtown, across from the Ice District. Smokebar.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. This is one big deal for one big pizza. Get an extra large New York style one-topping pizza for only $17.99. Order today at papajohns.ca.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$3:24. Welcome back. Wednesday afternoon, Gregor Show, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook, as always, presented by playalberta.ca. Buy your lottery tickets the most convenient way, online at playalberta.ca, as the Wednesday Lotto 649 Gold Ball Jackpot. Get in and you can win over $20 million today at playalberta.ca. Also, it's actually 36 to be exact. 36 mil tonight. 80 mil on Friday for Lotto Max. Ooh, nice. Very nice. 833-401-1440. Text line of someone. We'll get to a lot of those. But first, let's go in the room, brought to you by Action Electrical, where, hey, they encourage you to take action on your savings all the time. And with Action right now, you can stop in and they will give you the whole lowdown, because especially if you're a business owner, you got a commercial building, you're looking to put solar on it, you know that you can get up to 30% credit. That's like $150K on 500 Gs. Huge savings. We'll show you how at actionelectrical.net as Tyler Yaremchuk joins us from Oilers Nation and Daily Face-Off, getting set to jet out on a nation vacation, which includes Oilers in Colorado. Then night football in Seattle, I think it is. Is that right? Is it Seattle Monday Night Football?
No, Cleveland is in Denver for the Monday Nighter.
All right. Okay. It's Cleveland, not Denver. All right. So there you go. So The weekend sets up for the Oilers very well. Obviously, they'll be the most rested team heading into the weekend, no question. Do you believe their power play can get on track after a 5-day break?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think it's a matter of time. Like the beginning of the season obviously hasn't gone the way they wanted. McDavid missed some time. You've had Evan Bouchard struggle specifically when it comes to getting the puck through traffic, and I just think a lot of that, like Evan Bouchard did not suddenly forget how to get pucks through onto the net. Connor McDavid didn't suddenly forget how to produce on the power play. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, traditionally very good power play guy, didn't forget what to do. Like I just think they're in a rut, and like, you know, if there was a 10 to 15 game gap at any other point in the regular season, this maybe isn't as big of a talking point. But as always, when things happen from the start of the year, everyone kind of, including myself, overreacts to them a bit. I think we will at some point get a 20 to 25 game run where the Oilers power play is absolutely electric and it shoots them back closer to the top 10 of the league. You know, are they still capable of finishing the year at 30% or something crazy like that? Probably not, because of how much they've struggled in the first 22 games here, but I have full confidence that we will get more than one heater from this team at some point this season. There's just too much talent for it not to happen.
Potentially, they got to get Draisaitl shooting the puck. That's actually the biggest difference from the last 5 seasons. His shots per 60 are in half, down to 9. He used to be at 18 or 19 over those years. And, you know, he's the most prolific goal scorer on the power play. Their power play runs through Draisaitl when he's scoring. The power play is better. He's got 108 goals in the last 5 years. No one else has more than 74 in the whole league. So it's not just like he's dominating everybody else on that man advantage. And, you know, people say, well, they're taking it away. I'm like, no. Good power plays will find ways to not let it taken away. And I'll say this, Ty, for me, if I'm the coaches, I give them this weekend to get out of their funk. If they don't, I have to make a change, because now it's 24 games. Like, they've never gone, like 24 games is almost a third of the season. Like, to me, it's not a 10-game middle of the season funk, because they've never really done it like that. You get it to 24 games, and Utah and Colorado, who are 2 of the bottom feeders on the penalty kill, if you can't light them up, then you got to make a change to your personnel.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder about maybe Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as well. I know I just kind of said that he's been traditionally such a good, consistent power play producer, but, you know, Nuge is playing a lot of minutes right now. I know, again, he's on the penalty kill. He plays a lot of 5-on-5 minutes, especially when he's up with McDavid. I wonder, throw a guy like Jeff Skinner there for a little bit. I know he is, you know, maybe in the doghouse or has been in the doghouse at times over the last month, but like, you put a guy who can rip the puck like that, put him on the right side instead of Nugent-Hopkins, gives Nuge a chance to have a bit of a breather. He's not playing as much. And for Skinner, I know, again, Nuge would never want to give up those minutes. That's where you do a lot of your producing. But for Skinner as well, maybe just a chance to get some more chemistry with either McDavid or Draisaitl, get some more puck touches. That would be something I would consider. I'd consider Ekholm for Bouchard for a little bit if Bouchard can't find a way to get more pucks through. But those are kind of the 2 changes that I would be interested in seeing if, like you said, they don't figure it out this weekend.
Well, I do think if they change the defenseman, it'll actually be Nurse that would go in the first unit over Ekholm. Nurse has had success there in the past. But I do agree with you. I think the first choice would be Skinner over Nugent-Hopkins, because right now defenses are funneling the Oilers. If you watch their zone entries, they're funneling McDavid over the left side, and then they're attacking Nugent-Hopkins quickly. And because he's not making the plays that he's made in the past. And then on the times they do get set up, they're just leaving his side. Well, I wouldn't say wide open, but they're basically challenging Nugent-Hopkins to shoot, and he's not shooting.
Yeah, and I do wonder, again, you talked about good power plays will find a way to get a guy like Leon Draisaitl open. Maybe the Oilers just need to make a couple of changes within that 5-man unit. Maybe you bring Connor McDavid over to the other side a little bit more, put Nugent-Hopkins more in the middle of the ice. Just a couple of different things like that, because like you said, they kind of just leave Nugent-Hopkins all on his own there because he's not recognized as a threat. So put a threat over there. And again, maybe it could be a guy like Jeff Skinner. If there's a good shot sitting on that other side of the ice, maybe teams need to respect it more. Maybe that opens up a few more passing lanes for Leon Draisaitl, because again, that is the beauty of having Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on your top power play unit. You don't need Leon Draisaitl to be standing on an island. You need him to have like the width of a puck of a lane for McDavid to get to him, and they can make it work. So maybe just a small little tink here and there can find a way to open up Draisaitl a bit more, because I agree, like that's their bread and butter. If Draisaitl's humming from his office there at the bottom of the circle, they're going to score a lot.
Vasily Podkolzin scored his first goal of the season. Obviously, it was a huge relief for him. Where are you on Podkolzin, and do you see much of a gap, if any, between him and Dylan Holloway?
Him and Dylan Holloway. That is a very good question. They're using Podkolzin on the penalty kill, which I really like. The way I kind of viewed it at the beginning of the season was I said I still feel like Holloway had more upside to be a top 6 piece, but I think Podkolzin is a good bottom 6 guy. And sometimes with those high draft picks, you need that change of scenery for just expectations to kind of reset. I even think we're seeing it a little bit when you compare Podkolzin to like a Jesse Puljujarvi, right? Like if Puljujarvi went 22 games or whatever it was without scoring, people would have been freaking out. Why is he still playing in the top 6 with Podkolzin? I was like, well, no, he's doing all these things, right? Maybe a little bit of a shiny new toy effect with the fan base. But again, you're willing to forgive his mistakes a little bit more because he didn't come in here with the expectations of being a first-round pick like a Holloway or a Puljujarvi. I would still prefer Dylan Holloway on this team over Vasily Podkolzin, again, just because I think he has a little bit more upside, but that's not even to take anything away from Podkolzin, and I think the gap is very close. I like what he brings next to Leon Draisaitl. I like Podkolzin's attention to detail, the willingness to be physical, the ability to go hard on the forecheck, and what I'm hoping the most with that goal, I hope that just has something click in his brain that like, whoa, if I shoot the puck, it can go in. Because I remember specifically in the game against Montreal, there were 2 chances where Podkolzin had the puck coming in off the rush in the offensive zone right inside the blue line, basically right from where he scored from. And both times he passed it to someone on the outside. If Podkolzin can get that confidence to just realize like, hey, when I am in that zone, if I'm anywhere in the offensive zone, I have a shot good enough to beat NHL goalies. If he starts ripping it more, I think the production, obviously, this sounds like a bit of a Captain Obvious statement, but I think that production is going to skyrocket if he just has that confidence to rip it.
Yeah, it's funny. Podkolzin, a 10th overall pick the year before Holloway. They're the same age. Holloway just has a late birthday in September of like 20 days after the deadline. I really think Podkolzin, when I look in 5 years, I won't be surprised. Holloway might have a little bit more offensive numbers, but Podkolzin kills penalties. He's more physical than Holloway. And I think he's probably more durable than Dylan Holloway is, at least to this point in their career. I think Podkolzin's going to end up being a decent acquisition. Now, the argument would be, what if they just would have signed Holloway and not signed Jeff Skinner? And then you had Holloway and Podkolzin, and that would have been a significant difference.
You would have had Holloway, Podkolzin, and a couple $1 million extra sitting in your salary cap. But then you go through a whole thing of like, okay, if they would have done that, let's say an offer sheet for Broberg still happens, but if they have that $2.5 million cushion, would they have kept Cody Ceci and not acquired Ty Emberson? Because I agree with what you were saying in the last segment. I love what Ty Emberson's bringing to this blue line, and I think 50 games now into his NHL career, 55 games into his NHL career, there's still a lot of room for Ty Emberson to keep growing, and there's a lot of potential there. So I do agree. Like I remember talking with Frank back in early October, September, and he kind of said like, hey, did the Oilers need both Skinner and Arvidsson? Did they need to sign both those guys? And at the time I was like, Frank, you're crazy. Like, of course, if you can get them on those contracts, you do it. But now that it's been a few weeks of watching Jeff Skinner bounce around the lineup, it's like, okay, Jeff Skinner or Dylan Holloway and $2 million of cap space, I think there's an obvious answer to that one.
Tyler Ramchuk joins us from Oilers Nation and Daily Face-Off. Looking at a few other teams, are you buying on the Flames?
I'm still not. I just think they're a team that they don't score a lot. That has been a problem for them. They're getting some great goaltending from a young guy like Dustin Wolf, but I wonder, can Dustin Wolf give you a full season of even being a 1B if you're going to keep relying on Vladar? I think they could trade Vladar at some point here and maybe go with a Devin Cooley, Dustin Wolf combo, which again, I think that leaves them a little bit exposed in the goaltending department. I'm not a big buyer on them. I don't think this team's going to be able to score enough once the goaltending maybe comes back down to earth a little bit. They're not going to be able to outscore things. So I think the offense will hold them back. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. This start is great. I think the numbers now are they only need something like 62 points in their final 65 games or whatever it is to get into the playoffs. I think they're going to be due for at some point like a 10 to 12 game stretch where they just don't win a lot and it's going to rocket them down the standings. So I'm not a believer in them as much as maybe that's a bit of an Edmonton homer bias thing to say. I still don't like that lineup, that forward group.
What about the Canucks and, their offensive woes? Like last night's game, I don't know if you watched any of it. You probably shut it off. It was awful. That was one of the most boring hockey games I'd seen in a long time between the Canucks. And I thought there's going to be so much, Zadorov, DeBrus, Lindholm, everybody's all fired up. And it was just like snore fest. I don't think there was a shot in the first 7 minutes of the game. But where do you make it of Canucks? Or is it just once they get Demko back, all of a sudden they're going to rock it up?
I don't think they will, because I'm sitting here looking at this Canucks team going, where would they be if Kevin Lankinen was doing what Kevin Lankinen is doing right now? Like, is Demko going to come in and be better than Lankinen? Like, there's not that much room to be better than what he's given them. So Vancouver's got to figure it out. I do think that offense should be a little bit better. They have a whole boatload of guys who are at 6 goals on the season, but none of their real big studs. I know Miller is out right now. Besser has been out. Pettersson had his early season struggles. None of those 3 have really gone on like a good solid heater yet. I think their offense actually does have some space to wake up a little bit once they get clicking. So again, I think Vancouver, this is also going to be obvious, much better chance of making the playoffs than Calgary. And I think Vancouver will be just fine, because I think you can look at Lankinen and go, again, I believe in him. I like what Kevin Woodley said on your show a bunch. Like, I believe in him as an NHL goalie. But even if you're like, well, Lankinen's got to come back down to earth, that should be coupled with Demko returning and with hopefully 1 or 2 of their stars going on a nice little run. So I think Vancouver will be just fine.
Ty, enjoy the weekend. Pace yourself. We'll chat with you tomorrow on the rundown.
Sounds good. Thanks, Greg.
All right, it's Tyler Ramchuk from Oilers Nation and Daily Face-Off. I'm curious, Flames fans, because I don't got a lot of Flames fans who listen to the show. What are your thoughts on your team? Are you buying what your team is selling? Wolf has been fantastic early on. He's lived up to all the hype, and that's hard to do, but he's lived up to it. Does your team, are they winning now without offense, and you believe your offense is going to pick up? Because if it does, well, then they got a real chance. But only scoring 3 goals a game, history tells us that long-term that's not sustainable. But for now, it has been for the Calgary Flames, and has them in the position that they are currently in second place in the Pacific Division. It's obviously very tight between Calgary, Vancouver, LA, and Edmonton, all separated by 3 points. Vancouver does have a few games in hand. But Oilers, with their kind of their slow start, they're still only they're what are they? 1 back of LA. They're tied with Colorado for a wild card spot, and they're 3 points back of Calgary for second place. What's good news for the Oilers is that no one's really jumped out to a great start in the Pacific. Now, maybe when Edmonton heats up, somebody else will heat up. But early on, that's been the big benefit for them. And and the other thing is for the Oilers, if they can get going on a home ice, that'll help. After this 3-game road trip, in December, every game is at home except 1 before Christmas. So they got 8 home games, 1 on the road. There's an opportunity for them to really get cooking. And, if you can start your road trip in Utah, like everything points to that being a game they should win. The Oilers are extremely rested. Utah is coming back after a long road trip on the East Coast. Utah is also right now leaking goals. Now, I know the Oilers power play isn't good, but Utah is leaking goals on the penalty kill. They can't score very much. They're been without now 2 of their top 4 defensemen for a month. They're not coming back anytime soon till the new year. This is a team that's ripe for the picking. It's like a prey, it's kind of got the lame leg. Can the Oilers take them down? We'll see. Quick break. We'll come back. 5 questions and more on the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the original, the Orangesicle, and the Marathon. Made with cranberries, bananas, strawberries, orange sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Actions speak louder than words. Japa Machinery Group puts your construction plan into action with XCMG construction machinery you need. Available for rental or sale. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
They are nice, tasting just so right. You can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle noodle.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit femalesuperleague.com.
A career in the public service is better in Alberta. Better wages, lower taxes, better job opportunities with our thriving economy, better chances for advancement, plus a better future with new investment in healthcare and education. Public service, it's better here. Learn more and discover new career opportunities in the public sector at alberta.ca/betterhere. A message from the Government of Alberta.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Oodle Noodle origins. In 1864, Francis Oodle took over his dying father's business as a leatherman. He was quite proficient, but his heart was never truly in the trade. After his father's death, Oodle met a cocksure young man named Vladimir Nudell, who was a trailblazer in the popular new art of food boxes. They formed a partnership and aimed to ply their trade in the new world. At Ellis Island, Nudell was renamed David Noodle, and henceforth, the franchise has been known as Oodle Noodle.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Like we always do with this.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Can Torque. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantorque.com.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
For the ride on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube and Facebook, and X is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And it's time for 5 questions. And remember, Black Friday 7 a.m. The doors open at the Brick this Friday. If you're looking for a deal, that's a place to go. First 10 people in will get automatic $50 GC. Also, all day, like huge deals, 60% off. You're looking 50% off on mattresses. If you're looking for big screen TVs, appliances, you name it. It is going to be massive sales. You can get up to 60% off couches when you buy the matching Love Seater chair. So huge savings this Friday at the Brick and thebrick.com, but get in store for the best deals.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, Jason, I think Connor will be back in a second here, but I'll start the proceedings. Question number 1. We've seen a few coaches lose their jobs this season already. Who do you think has the hottest seat right now?
Well, I think there's 2. I think you have Derek Lalonde in Detroit, and they're kind of clinging to it. They did get, they had a big win. Then we'll see if they can continue with that. They're 1, and then Cronin in Anaheim. Now they're 8-9-3, but I've heard some rumblings that maybe players aren't overly happy there. So we'll see. Like Anaheim, I didn't have high expectations of for this season. Detroit, I thought if they can't get going early, even though everybody expects them to be a playoff team, or at least in contention to be a playoff team, I think I could see a change there.
Question number 2. Team Canada appears to be set to name goaltenders Jordan Binnington and Aiden Hill to its 4-nation faceoff team. Are these the first 2 that you would roll with?
Well, they're obviously, winning the Stanley Cup 5 years ago. What the hell does that have? 6 years ago. What does that have to do with anything today? Right now, Binnington had a decent year last year. Don't get me wrong, but this year's been terrible. So you're going to take a guy because he won a cup 6 years ago? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something there, but I know there's not a lot of great options. I get it, but Logan Thompson's playing great right now. Cam Talbot is playing excellent right now. So I think there are some others. We'll see if that comes to fruition. We've heard those 2 names for a while because they both won a cup, but both of them are having terrible years. Like Aiden Hill's got an 887. People are all freaking out. Oh my God, Stuart Skinner can't even be in the conversation. He's at an 882. So those 0.5 points is why Aiden Hill should be heads and shoulders above him. Like, I don't know. So if Skinner would have won Game 7 last year instead of lost, I think sometimes if you want to say, oh, they won a cup, that it's that drastic. To me, if you're that much more skilled, then it's not a conversation. But yeah, I'm not in love with any of the choices, to be honest. Cam Talbot, heck, Jake Allen doesn't play a lot, but he's probably been the best one for Canada. So Marc-Andre Fleury, even there's some other options, but you got to go down. Jordan Binnington has an 891. Aiden Hill has an 887. And everyone's like, Skinner has no chance, and he's an 882. Okay, fair. But an 887 and 891 are locks to make the team. Make it make sense for me.
Question number 3. Former NHL coach Guy Boucher is now coaching with Avangard Omsk in the KHL. If the NHL was out of the question, which league would be your first to coach in?
Oh, Swiss. I would want to be in Switzerland all day long. Some unbelievable facilities, fantastic country, and everybody I've talked to loves it there. So I will definitely take the Swiss Elite League.
Yeah, I don't think my top preference would be the K personally. I was thinking maybe Sweden or something. It'd be cool to go cross play in Europe. Live a pretty cool lifestyle. Slightly ahead of the AHL. And Declan, thank you for sliding in there. Question number 4 for you, Gregor. American Thanksgiving tomorrow, which is followed by Black Friday. Are you someone who gets in on the action when it comes to the big savings on Friday?
I am not, but I encourage all of you to. But guess what? Less competition because this cat is. I'm not a big shopper, so no, I am not. I've never been to a Boxing Day sale in my life. I've probably missed out, but I'm like, you know what? I'll pay retail later on. And all of those who get up early, I respect you, but I won't compete with you. You?
One time, and it might have been grade 11, grade 12, when one of my buddies got their driver's license, we decided, okay, let's make that trip to the mall on Boxing Day. I left with a DVD player, and that was it. And that was the last time I ever came back. I I'm like you. I'll pay a little bit more if I don't have to deal with the huge crowds and the big lines. Like, it gets pretty ridiculous. So for me personally, not going to go do it again. Maybe online deals if I ever find one. But yeah, it's not something I get too fired up for. Final question for you, Gregor. It was on this day in 1991. The Undertaker beat Hulk Hogan. Quite a matchup. With all the matches that you've seen in your time, what would be your favorite wrestling match of all time?
Oh man. Now I might be getting it wrong because I'm a wrestling fan, but I'm not an aficionado. The Bret Hitman Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Was it WrestleMania 14? Might have been 13, honestly. It's one of those in the maybe 12. I can't remember exactly, but I remember that one. It was pretty fantastic. Also, Mick Foley. I can't even think of the exact, but he used to go off that cage and like fly. Like that stuff ain't fake, dude. You're jumping off that cage on a table. That guy was a nut bar. So whether he was, probably not even Cactus Jack. I think it was when he was Mick Foley and he jumped off and they got all the tacks on the ground. I'm like, this guy's a lunatic. So, but I remember that one. So I'll go with that one. You?
Yeah, I mean, Mankind versus The Undertaker, right? That was the Hell in a Cell when he threw him off.
That's okay.
I mean, through the table. Like, that was just absolutely ridiculous. The thought to even cross your mind, like, to volunteer to do that, I think is just insane. I don't know if I could say my favorite, but one of my favorite, like, events as a whole is the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Even in the last couple of years, my buddies and I got together just to watch that. And I'm not a big wrestling guy. Like, I kind of grew out of that. Something about the Royal Rumble is just fun to watch. So I'll say just generic answer. Anytime I can go watch that, probably atop the list behind Mankind versus Taker.
Like, it's funny. I know you sent me a list of top 30 fights, and there was a lot of Shawn Michaels and a lot of The Undertaker. So for our diehard wrestling fans, like, were those guys, if you look at just, Stone Cold and Steve Austin were in there too, quite a bit, but it seemed like, man, Shawn Michaels was in there a ton. And amongst, now this is just one guy's opinion on it, a few different people, but there was a lot of, and hey, Shawn Michaels was pretty good. I probably, like, how you would never have a Jimmy Superfly Snuka when the guy could fly across the whole ring. Come on now. I thought, that he was fantastic. Like, if I'm going back to my greatest wrestling matches, like, I still got to pull up some of my Stampede Wrestling ones, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because probably because I was there, it was live, wasn't on TV, so a little bit different. But man, they've got some classics for Stampede Wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I used to love WCW. I don't even know what it was. Cruiserweight. When you'd have Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero. Like, those guys were just flying around doing the most ridiculous things.
I love the tag teams too, right? Like the tag teams were unbelievable. Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Bret Hart. You just like the tag teams because there was just lots more of, like, the guys jumping in at the wrong time, cheating, annoying the hell out of you. I always kind of found the Demolition was fantastic to watch as a tag team. So I don't know, I might have, like, I know that one was very technically good. But as far as entertainment goes, man, I could go with a lot of tag team runs. Davey Boy Smith, the Dynamite Kid, they had some epic ones for sure. But we got a lot of people texting. Guys, honestly, I think Shawn Michaels was probably the best in-ring wrestler of all time. His matches were unreal. Comes from Suitcase. Boys all day long, Michaels. I couldn't stand him, but as a pure wrestler, I think he was the best. Hey, guys, what about Hulk versus Andre the Giant? Is that when Hulk lifted him up the first time, body slammed him? Wow.
They profiled that in the Vince McMahon Netflix documentary. So, like, they got Andre to come back for that. Also, Shawn Michaels, when he would do Sweet Chin Music and stomp the ground, like, that was a great lead up to it.
Or was it Mankind who had the sock and then he'd put in the guy's mouth?
Mr. Sacco.
God, that was so terrible, but it's funny. But like he was Cactus Jack, Mankind, and Mick Foley, right? He played 3 different characters, and he's probably played even more than I can think of.
Dude Love. A little disco character, yeah.
Right, Dude. Oh, that is awesomely bad. All at the same time. Oh. Hey, guys, when Kane is back, or do they pull the injury guard and bring him back in the playoffs like Tampa Bay from Jag? No, I don't think it's going to be that long for Evander Kane. The new year. Now, whether or not it's before the Four Nations Cup, I can't say for certain. But unless there's a setback, I think Evander Kane is going to be here in the regular season this year. There's a reason why the Oilers have tried, like they put him on LTIR, sure, but the Oilers haven't been in LTIR. They're accruing cap space for as much as they can so they could just activate Kane when he's healthy and still not be over the cap, and they've purposely done that. So I think that's and in conversation I've had, seen Kane around. I think there's a very good chance that you'll see him in the regular season. Let's get to the comments. Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice. 25-year celebration continues. Only for a little bit more time. The marathon, the original, the creamsicle, they're all back as they celebrate 25 years. Get it to the Booster Juice Reward app or in store at Booster Juice.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
It's a busy night in the NHL. 15 games on the schedule, including the Sens in San Jose. Kraken host the Ducks. Jets taking on the Kings. Avs and Golden Knights. Blackhawks host the Stars. The Canadians travel to Columbus. Canucks in Pittsburgh. Maple Leafs taking on the Panthers. Red Wings and Flames. Canes host the Rangers. Blues travel to Jersey. And the Sabres taking on the Wild. In the association, the Raptors are in action, taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. That gets going just after 6 o'clock. You also have the Suns and Nets. Nuggets taking on the Jazz. Thunder head to the Bay to take on the Warriors. Sixers host the Rockets, and the Trailblazers battle the Pacers. And the Montreal Alouettes today signing quarterback Davis Alexander to a 3-year contract extension. He was set to become a free agent in February. A breakout season in 2024, posting a 5-0 record while starting, with Cody Fajardo out with injury. Former New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones was cut from the team last Friday as plans to sign with the Minnesota Vikings. The 6th overall pick back in 2019 was benched following the team's 20-17 overtime loss to the Carolina Panthers in Germany. And today, the CHL announcing the Kelowna Rockets will host the Memorial Cup in 2026. Kelowna was awarded hosting duties for the 2020 Memorial Cup, but the event was eventually canceled due to COVID. This year's event will be held in Rimouski, Quebec. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, it's another edition of the Business of Sport with Rich Winter and former Oilers GM Ken Holland. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Michelle and Colette are sisters. Sisters who don't agree on much, especially when it comes to which hockey team is the best.
Edmonton is the best, baby. Vancouver's #1.
Even when it comes to meat snacks from Wilhawks.
I love the Herrischweiner. The ham sausage rules.
But they will agree
Wilhawk beef jerky is the best.
it might just be the only thing Alberta hockey fans can agree on.
Others can try to imitate, but no one can duplicate Wilhawk beef jerky. Only available in Leduc. Get yours today, because you don't win friends with salad.
When it comes to your health, trust Dr. Bryce Henderson for expert care in hip and knee replacements. With years of experience and advanced techniques, Dr. Henderson helps you regain your mobility and quality of life.
Your health is my priority. Let's get you back to doing what you love.
Put your health in the hands of a trusted expert. Book your consultation with Dr. Henderson today. Visit vitalsurgicalspecialist.ca or call 587-391-7864.
Find the perfect tractor for any job at Edmonton Kubota. Their massive selection of compact tractors has something for everyone, whether you're tackling small tasks or big projects. And right now, take advantage of 0% financing for up to 72 months. It's never been easier to get the power and reliability you need. Come down to Edmonton Kubota today and drive away with the tractor that's just right for you. Edmonton Kubota, where your perfect tractor awaits.
One small step for Schwab, one giant leap for Schwab Kai.
Schwab's has landed the biggest truck sale of the year with Get the Truck Out of Here. Get 0% financing or lease rates as low as 1.9% on 2024 half-ton trucks. You'll be over the moon with employee pricing. Save up to $13,000 on select GMC and Chevy HDs. Plus, get $10,000 cash back. Get the truck out of here. Head to Schwab Chevrolet Buick GMC in Leduc.
A delicious new deal is at Tim's. $3 for a classic breakfast sandwich when you buy any size hot or iced coffee. You heard that right. Just $3 for a classic breakfast sandwich with Canada's favorite coffee. Terms apply. See app for details.
It's time for Tim's.
Hand delivering a hamper to a family in need fills everyone's hearts with joy. Be part of the Holiday Hamper program. Adopt a local family and see the difference your groceries and gifts make firsthand. Sign up today at holidayhamper.ca.
watching the office and gave $3 million back. We could probably run through that pretty quickly.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. The team in Old Strathcona has special training dedicated to reducing the impact of cancer care before, during, and after your diagnosis. From lymphedema to the management of fatigue and side effects of chemotherapy and radiation, they can help. Learn more at leadingedgephysio.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
It's after 4 o'clock. Welcome back. Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook, as always. Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game, use the promo code Gregor50, and you'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca. And it is time now for edition number 2 of the business of sports. Of course, we have 35 years as a player agent. Rich Winter joins us once again. Rich, how you doing?
Good, Jason. How are you? A little cold compared to last week, but it's okay.
Yeah, well, hey, we're in Edmonton. There's a lot of snow, so at least we have snow when it's cold, because there's nothing worse than having cold and no snow.
I love the snow. Yeah, totally.
I'm a big believer in it. And our guest today, the business of sports, we have lots of different topics we'll touch on, but when we get a guest like this to talk about the business really of hockey from a managerial perspective, did it for almost 4 decades. Of course, started out as a scout, was assistant GM, then of course went on to be the GM of the Detroit Red Wings, won 4 Stanley Cups, also came in as a GM of the Edmonton Oilers, made the playoffs all 5 seasons, came to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final last year, and now works for the NHL. Ken Holland, also Hall of Famer. Pretty long resume. Ken, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Good. Nice to be with you guys.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you. How has it been your first few months without being a general manager? Is it a hard adjustment, or you kind of getting used to not running a team?
It's different. Obviously, I was a manager for 27 years. My wife and I have spent a lot of time together, and watching games every night, like I always did, I guess, but certainly different.
So in the business of sport, Ken, we'll get into some original signings and fun stories you've had, but you started out as a scout and, you worked your way up. You've talked to a lot of GMs. Do you still feel at the end of the day, like is having a good scouting background imperative to being a good GM?
No, I don't think so, Jason. I think that there's a number of different ways. I think you probably got to have a bunch of different elements in your management team. My background was scouting. So, I actually, when I became manager of Detroit in 1997, I hired Jim Nill, who was similar background as I, former player, scouting. But then we hired, a few years later, Ryan Martin, who had maybe played up to high school hockey. He's now the assistant general manager of the New York Rangers, to be in the front office, law degree. Work with the National Hockey League. So, in your front office, you got to have a few different dimensions. And I think player evaluation is one of them, whether it's the general manager or, an assistant general manager.
The biggest change, of course, has been the salary cap. And, you need a capologist for the most part as an assistant GM, and really understanding the CBA and every day of the salary cap, and how, some teams, we see them sending guys to the minors just for a day or two to try to accrue cap space. How much did the cap really change how you did your job as a GM?
It forces you just to make decisions, Jason. In 2004-05, the Red Wings had a payroll of $80 million, and then they missed a year, and they came back with a cap of $39 million. We ended up buying out Darian Hatcher. We bought out Ray Whitney. We bought out Darren McCarty. Now, one of the things that I'm proud of is that the Detroit Red Wings, having to go from $80 million to $39 million, we were the last team to miss the playoffs in a salary cap world. Everybody in the league missed the playoffs before the Detroit Red Wings eventually missed the playoffs in 16-17. So I think we went 10 or 11 years in a salary cap world. So basically, when we had a big payroll, we still had we had a budget, and we had to make, you have to make decisions, but the budget, the higher payroll allowed us to, have more players. We have more depth. And as we got into a salary cap world and we were on a level playing field with everybody else, you still had to make those decisions. But certainly drafting and developing, and I think about 05, 06 when we went out and signed Dan Cleary, who was looking for work at brought him to camp actually on a tryout and signed him to a 1-year deal at 500,000. And there was 3 or 4 others. Michael Samuelsson was back playing in the Swedish Elite League, drafted by somebody else. We signed him to a $500,000 deal, and Sammy got us 20 goals. Andreas Lilia, we brought him and signed him to a 1-year deal at around $500,000. So, we had to our pro scouting department had to dig and scratch and claw and find some players that were making the minimum that could impact our team. And I think it's no different today, whether it's a $40 million payroll or it's an $80 million payroll. You're going to need to have 5, 6, 7 players on your roster, whether they're entry level players or they're players that you've signed looking for work that they're near the minimum, that have to positively impact your team. They just can't be along for the ride. They need to pitch in and contribute, and that's certainly the challenge. And I think one of the difference makers in a salary cap world.
Ken Holland joins us, Jason Gregor, Rich Winter. Now, we've heard Rich's side of things, Ken, and he was obviously a fantastic agent to deal with in negotiations. He said, super easy, always cordial, everything was fine. I will get your side of things on that, but he did. He's told his version, his side of it on the Marian Hossa deal when it came to Detroit, right, on the 1-year deal, and originally how it panned out. You've been a GM for a long time. How rare was that to have a player not only come to you as a free agent, who's one of the best free agents available, signed for 1 year, and then end up taking $600K less than you'd originally agreed to?
That was very nice of Rich and Marian. It was a strange negotiation, Jason, because it was really just sort of the beginning of the information on the internet. There was no social media. But certainly you went online. So I remember the night or two before the free agency, July 1 of the Marian Hossa year, reading online that there was speculation that Marian Hossa was being offered multi-year deals and multi-million-dollar deals. Certainly, we were doing our work in advance, and Marian Hossa was a potential unrestricted free agent, and we thought, boy, he would be a great fit for the Detroit Red Wings. But when I was reading the internet, I thought to myself, I might check in with Rich in the morning. I might not, because there's no chance. A year later, we had to give big deals to Henrik Zetterberg and I think Val Filppula. We had some people so we had a kind of a 1-year look there where we had some cap space and we could do something. But reading that Marian was being offered the multi-years, multi-millions, we were out. It's around 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I know I'm at the gas station, heading down to Joe Louis Arena to get ready for free agency. And I'm standing there, my phone rings, and I pull my phone up out of my pocket, and I look and I see it's Rich Winter. And I look, and there's a sign right above there as I'm fueling, and there's a guy looking out of the gas station, no cell phone usage. So I thought, so I kind of ducked down behind the car and I said, Rich, I'll call you in a few minutes. And then Rich said, I said, I got to drive to the rink. And Rich said, I got the deal of the century for you. I said, I'd heard that 100 times before. So I ended up gassing, just drove over the corner of the gas, called Rich back. And then Rich told me that Marian Hossa would like to come to Detroit. And I said, Rich, we'd love to have him, but we can't afford him. He said, what do you mean that I'm going to give you the deal of the century? I said, what's the deal? He says, a 1-year deal. I said, Rich, you've got my attention. And I think it was a 1-year deal at 8. And I said, Rich, I got to get down to the rink. I'll call you in half an hour. I got down, went into Jim Neal's office. My assistant manager closed the door and I said, holy cow, right? Rich Winter just called. We got a shot at getting Marian Hossa. And he said, we can't afford Marian Hossa. I told him. And so then I called Rich back and I said, Rich, our highest paid player is Nicholas Lidstrom. Out of respect to Nick, I gotta track I got to track Nick down in Sweden, and give me 15, 20 minutes. Let me track him. I just want to give him a heads up that he won't be the highest paid player next year. And Rich said, okay, hung up the phone. 5 minutes later, I'm trying to find the phone number to reach out to Nicholas Lidstrom, and the phone rings. It's Rich, and Rich has already talked to Marion, and he called me back and he said, Marion doesn't want to be the highest paid Red Wing. Marion will take the same as Nick, or just under $50,000 less than Nick. And I said, deal. So I hung up the phone and told Jimmy Nill, and I still can't believe. So we're sitting there. So now free agency's going on, and it's a couple hours. And I haven't heard back from Rich. And I said to Jim Nill, I said, Rich and I have got a gentleman's agreement. I said, I've got to believe. I said, so how can I make this thing feel like it's going to happen? So I said,
well,
I
keep
come
in
up with
mind,
the idea.
all that was happening at that time, it was a time during faxes. We weren't doing internet. We weren't doing emails. So Marion was simply looking for a buddy who had a fax machine to get the contract back to you. We have no idea that you're panicking, but we think we have a deal.
Yes, and I think I've got a deal too, but I just want to make it. So I said to Jimmy Nill, I got an idea. I said, let me call Rich, and I'll tell Rich to line up Marion to go on WJR or whatever the radio station was in Detroit, and at 3:30 Eastern time. So I called Rich. Rich called me back 5 minutes later. Says, yeah, Marion's going to be all set. So hung up the phone at, I don't know, about 2:30, 2:45, and 45 minutes later. Marion's on the phone. He's on the radio station in Detroit, and kind of confirming that we had a deal. But certainly we ended up going all the way to Game 7 and losing in Game 7. And then Rich and I talked about a long-term deal. I ended up signing Zetterberg to a 12-year deal in November.
Franson.
Then I signed Franson, I think, in January to a long-term deal. And I went to Mr. and Miss Illich, and I talked about one more long-term deal. They signed off, and then Rich and I talked, but we had some, Zetterberg was done, and we had other people to do, and ultimately the Chicago Blackhawks went. I think I was around $50 million, and Chicago went to 62 or 63, $64 million, and Marion left us, and but certainly it was a fabulous negotiation for the Detroit Red Wings.
But only matched by the Dominic Hasek negotiation in the middle of the season, when he walks into your office after getting injured and coming back after he had taken a year off to retire. My biggest.
He did that, Rich. He did that a couple of times. The first time, so Jason, the first time I get a call in the middle of June 2001. Buffalo general manager Darcy Regier, he and I had played together in the minors many years before in Binghamton, so we had a little bit of a relationship. Darcy said to me, Ken, I've met with ownership. We're trading Dominic Hasek. Would you have interested in Dominic Hasek? Well, who wouldn't have interested in Dom Hasek? He's one of the greatest goaltenders to ever play the game.
All right.
So we kind of went through this dance. It was us and St. Louis and a couple of other teams. I remember being on the phone, Jim Nill and I, Dominic Hasek and Rich were on the phone. I believe it was a Sunday night. Maybe free agency was 5 or 6 days later. And Dom was trying to decide, he had a number of teams courting him, which team he was going to sign off to get traded to. And we were on the phone.
We were really doing that, Ken. That's what we told you. We had already decided on Detroit. We just needed the 8 or 9 million that required us to tell you that.
So I wanted to get Jason, at the end, finally we convinced Dom, or I think we've convinced Dom, or maybe, but he's coming to Detroit. So I said to Rich at the end, I said, Rich, now Dom had a club option at $9.5 million. That same year, Lidstrom was making $8 million and Yzerman was making $8 million. So I said to Rich at the end, I said, there's under one circumstance, or we'll do the trade after we'd kind of gone through everything. I said, Lidstrom makes $8 million. Yzerman makes $8 million. I can't pay Dom $9.5 million, pay him $1.5 million more than the guys who've built this and done it here. I said, we'll pay him the same $8 million. So Rich called Dom. Rich called me back the next day and said, Dom has no problem. He'll play for $8 million, and he'll give you can have a 1-year deal at $8 million, and you can have as many Back then you could do option years. We could have as many option years as you want, so that we always had the option that we could re-sign them or pick up the option at $8 million or walk away. So Dom, that was the first time Dom took less money.
Remember, Ken, we got the difference because we got a Stanley Cup, a bonus for $1 million or $1.5 million if he won the cup. So we made it up. There,
we made it up. Yeah, it worked out pretty good, Jason, because we won the cup that year. And we were down 2-0 to Vancouver in round one. It wasn't looking like we were going to win a cup early in middle of April, but we kind of got the things turned around. And remember, Dom put up a wall in game 3 or game 4 in Vancouver. They got a 5-minute power play, and they had a tremendous power play, and nothing would go in, and we ended up kind of going on from there, and eventually 2 months later won the Stanley Cup, and then Dom retired, and they had team parties, and I talked to Chelios, I talked to Eisenman, I talked to Shanahan. I said at the team parties, you got to convince Dom to come back, and finally Rich called me one day and said Dom's had it. He's had enough. He got the Stanley Cup. He's going to retire. So then I went out and I signed. That summer, we signed Curtis Joseph, I think, to a 3-year deal of $8 million. And then the next year, after we lost out in a sweep to Anaheim, Rich called me and he said, Ken, Dom's decided he wants to come back. And I said, oh, I'd love to have him. But I said, I've got $8 million tied up. He says, well, he doesn't need $8 million. He'll take less. So eventually, I think we got him for, we played for 6, I think.
Yeah,
played for 6. So he took a $2 million, and we had an $8 million. Those were great years, Jason. We had an $8 million goalie. We had 3 goalies in the locker. We had an $8 million goalie sitting there. And then I think we had Manny Legacy in the middle making like the minimum. And then we had Dom making $6 million. And then the work stoppage hit.
Yeah.
And then Dom went, I think, to Ottawa. And then after a year in Ottawa, 07, 08.
You forgot the best part is the middle of the season. Remember, he got hurt,
Well,
right?
that's where I'm going to. Now he comes back. Now he comes back and he comes back. And maybe this might be 06, 07, or I can't remember the exact years. So now it's Dom's having groin issues. It's November. Dom's having groin issues, plays a game, and then we give him about a week or 10 days off, and then plays, and his groin's bothering. And this goes on for about a month, 4, 5, 6 weeks. So finally, about Christmas time, or just right after Christmas, I called Dom in the office with the team doctor and the athletic trainer and told Dom that we were going to shut him down and we got to get him healthy. This is hard on everybody. It's hard on him. It's hard on the team. And when he feels healthy, we're going to get him back up and running. So the next day I get a call from Rich, and Rich says, Dom wants to see you in your office today. So I said, okay, tell him to come down at 1:00 or something. So Dom comes to my office. It's Dom and I. Dom shuts the door, and Dom tells me, he says, Ken, I talked to Rich yesterday. I didn't come back for the money. I come back to win another Stanley Cup. And he said, he says, starting today, I don't want you to, he's making a $6 million base. He's got about $3 million. It's about halfway through the year. He says, I don't want to be paid another penny until I come into this office and I tell you that I'm healthy and I'm ready to play. And he says, I've already told Rich that, and it's done. I don't want anybody to know. I don't want anybody to know. I don't want a big story. So we took him off the payroll, and finally this is 2 months later in March, Dom's getting some bad press. And I finally called Rich. I said, Rich, this is crazy. I said, Dom's not even getting paid, and he's taking a lot of abuse in the media. So I said, I'm going out and I'm going to tell the Red Wing Nation there that we're not even paying Dom, that he's been off the payroll for 2 months. And I said, so they can kind of leave him be. And
they thought he was fake. They thought he was just being soft, right?
Yes, exactly. So he never did come back that year, Jason, and ultimately Dom walked away from $3 million. And then and then he went to Ottawa, and then he came back, and then I think he played for like a 750 base.
Yeah.
And the year with the 06, 07, 07-08 he came and we won the Stanley Cup, and he was playing for like a 750 base. It was him and Chris Osgood. And I think he had like $1 million in bonuses, so he made like $1,750,000. But we won the Stanley Cup in 08, and then he came back on another 1-year deal, low base, like $1 million, and we ended up going to the Stanley Cup Finals. 08, obviously, and 09 we had Osgood and Hassig. It was a great 1-2 punch, but both were playing cheap, and certainly on multiple, 2 or 3 occasions, Dom did right by the team, and it was about winning.
Well, let me just say a couple of things because of the background. One, I don't think Jimmy Nill and I ever thought we'd be experiencing what you just described when we were sitting on the bench at the Drumheller Composite High School where we both attended. 2, Dom, reason he retired was, and you probably didn't realize it, Patrick Waugh had said many times in the press, yeah, Dom's okay. You know, he's got the world champ, he's got the Olympic gold medal, but I have the cups. He put so much pressure on himself to win that cup. Steve Kotlowitz and I were down when you were in Carolina for game 5 or 6, I can't remember. And Dom, you know, he didn't go to sleep. You guys played, remember that 3 overtime game? He hadn't gone to sleep till 4 o'clock in the morning. He was in the coffee shop at 5:30. He hadn't slept at all. He was so exhausted by the time that thing ended. He just couldn't go on. And it was really all because he had to get that cup to put that Patrick Waugh comment to bed once and for all.
Yeah, well, the pressure players put on themselves, I've always thought was a little bit higher than anybody else does. We'll take a quick break. I want to come back because both of you said something very interesting in that segment, somewhat jokingly, but I wonder, in the game of negotiations, we'll talk to Ken Holland about how do you know when the agent's telling the truth and vice versa, and how much does a trust factor and respect factor come into the negotiation and the business of negotiation next. Here on the Jason Gregor Show, it's the business of sports on Sports 1440.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
And that would have been a significant difference.
Stage and DJ
So you would have had Holloway put goals in it. On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
$2 million extra.
Eat well, party hard.
In Seattle?
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
I think it is. Is that right? Is it Seattle Monday night?
With a clear path for long-term development, is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
It's Black Friday at The Brick. Doors open at 7 a.m. and the first 10 customers in line will receive a $50 credit to use towards any purchase. Plus, shop incredible door crasher specials until 9 a.m., like free local delivery on purchases over $4.99. Friday only, save 65% off sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Plus, buy any TV or appliance and get a $50 credit on furniture, decor, and mattresses. Some exclusions apply. See thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Ain't it beautiful? There's electricity in the air. Carrie Dahl here from Volvo of Edmonton, where the Volvo XC40 and C40 fully electric vehicle is now in stock, along with a great selection of Volvo T8 hybrid models. Experience the trusted Volvo quality and technology to power into tomorrow at Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference. Volvo of Edmonton.
Weather forecast? Ugh.
Savings forecast, cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Delicious news. The McDonald's meals you love are now $9.99 every day. Grab your faves like the Big Mac, 6-piece McNuggets, McChicken, or Filet-O-Fish with medium fries and a medium fountain drink for $9.99 each plus tax. At participating McDonald's restaurants in Edmonton, Alberta, and the surrounding area. Prices exclude delivery.
Portions of this hour brought to you by On the Rocks. Watch every Oilers game at OTR with $5.25 Molson Canadian, $5 Pink Whitney shots, and 60-cent wings. Plus, play Oilers score and win, and you could walk away with a ton of On the Rocks gift cards. Oilers hockey at OTR. Book your table today. Jasper Ave and 118th.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Hans, you could probably do another. We continue on business of sports here inside the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Busy night in the NHL, 15-game slate. Of course, tomorrow, no games, Thanksgiving in the U.S., so use the promo code Gregor15. You'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca, as we are joined by the Hall of Famer, Ken Holland, here today in the business of sports. We talked about those negotiations, Ken. I do want to get to like something Rich said, and you know, Rich did admit that once the salary cap came in, it was a little harder to play the negotiation game because you knew how much money a team had, how much they had signed. But early in the career, how much of it was trusting and not knowing that the agent was just trying to use you to up the money to get somewhere else? How did you balance that part of it as a GM?
Well, prior to the salary cap world, 05, and I'm not sure how many years go back, and Rich can go in. First off, free agency was 31,
yeah.
So you controlled the players, longer before there wasn't this unrestricted free agency at 25, 26, 27 sort of looming out there. So basically, the way the system worked back then is, the players that were 30, 31, they made more money when they were 35 than when they were 25. Now it's sort of, you're going to make you're going to make the money when you're supposed to, and then later in your career you don't make as much money. So certainly relationships, Jason, is like anything in life. It's about relationships. When we went through the Dominic Hasek trade in 01, and as you walk through all that, you build up a relationship, and certainly anything that Rich told me happened, so as you go forward and you negotiate with other players, and it's Rich and I, you've got a history, you've got a relationship, and that, being as long a manager for 27 years like I was, I negotiated with most of the managers and had a relationship with most of them, and then then there's new people coming in. There's new young agents coming in, and maybe my assistant manager, whether it was Jim Nill or Ryan Martin, Bill Scott in Edmonton, they might have a relationship because those young agents maybe have more entry-level contracts or more American League players. And the way I managed was I negotiated the major league contracts, and I had my assistant general manager negotiate the entry levels. And when I was the assistant manager in Detroit, I was the GM of the Adirondack Red Wings. I thought that was a great experience for me, building a team, signing players, and prepared me for when I was a general manager. So when I became the general manager in 1997, I did the same with Jim Nill. Jim, you're my assistant general manager. You're the general manager of the Grand Rapids Griffins. You build that team, knowing that you got entry-level players. We'd sit down and we'd talk about it, what players were turning pro, and you have to build a team and a competitive team. And then Ryan Martin did the same thing in when Jim Nill went to Dallas. And then when I came to Edmonton, I had Bill Scott and Keith Gretzky do the same thing because I thought it was really good training for them. And at the same time, they're out in the field more than I'm out in the field. So they're out there watching our young players and watching American League games. And so maybe that assistant general manager has got a relationship with an agent who's got more minor league players or more entry level players, and he can work with him. And 10 years later, when either, Jimmy Nill or Ryan Martin or Bill Scott are general managers, those relationships go for a long time. That's what happened to me, from 1994 when I became an assistant general manager for 3 years with Scotty Bowman and Jim Devillano. I negotiated the minor league entry level contracts, the minor league contracts, and then 1997 I kind of passed that on to Jimmy Nill.
Well, I think you talk about relationships, Jason, but it works the other way, because when we did the Hossa deal, the one thing I asked for from you, which I had no contractual right to enforce, was that Marion, the minute the season was over, Marion was going to be free to talk to any team he wanted to. So relying on that, because of our relationship, I know that's going to materialize. And that was important to Marion. He's a pretty astute business guy. And that now gives him 2 or 3 weeks to evaluate offers, to talk to teams, to meet them. I find it a horrific experience, July 1st, trying to make a $50 million decision when 5 teams are calling. So Ken gave us that option. And strangely enough, we got a deal with Chicago. They trade Havlat. And Marion says to me at 15 minutes before free agency, Ken, he says, do you think they'd mind if I just kind of looked in and see what the Tampa offer is? And I said, I will call Dale. Sure. And of course, Dale said, what do you have in mind? I'll lose my job. But at the end of the day, it's, if Ken gave us that opportunity, I didn't think for a minute that I'd have to rely on getting that in writing, which he couldn't have done anyway, because it wouldn't, so he gave us that permission. And, that's how you work together. That's why you trust each other, right? When you have a problem, you can work it out. You can rely on guys. And that's not the case all the time.
Yeah. What was there cases in your career, Ken, where you felt that the agent or the player just kind of used you guys as a bargaining chip? And you don't have to name the player or anything, but did you notice that? Do you sock that away, or do you just sense that, okay, that's just part of the business?
Well, I think first off, it's a little bit part of the business. I mean, Rich can speak more to. I think an agent's job, part of it is to, you're playing one team against the other, and you've got one offer in your hand. I'm only negotiating with the agent, so he could have something, he could not have something, and I've got to make that decision. I mean, that's the negotiation. That's the game, I guess, that we play.
At the end of the day, I don't have to have an offer. You just have to think I do.
Yeah.
Right?
Or he doesn't have to have an offer. Jason, I guess I would say to you, the best thing that you can go into negotiate with is the ability to say no.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If you can say no and just walk away and feel fine, then you've got the ability to negotiate. But if you are in a position where you've got to have something and, whatever it takes, well, and that can just go on. You can either be negotiating against somebody else, or you can be negotiating against yourself, because if you don't get to a certain point, and even if they don't have somebody else, if that athlete and agent have the confidence that they're just going to say, we're going to stick by here, we believe something's coming down the road, and there's some other things going on, and some other teams are going to get desperate in 2 hours and 6 hours, or in a day or 2 or 3, July 1st, then the ability to say no and walk away gives you a bargaining chip. But if you can't say no and walk away, then it doesn't, like you're chasing it a little bit.
Well, and like when you don't have an option other than like back when Buffalo, when Dom was basically by himself, almost leading that team to every victory, they had no choice. Patrick Waugh was making, and when you know that and you're patient, we're ready to say no. I mean, it was surprising to some. I could never understand why goalies were paid less than other superstars because of their position, the amount they contribute to every victory. And so Patrick Waugh was making 3.5. We took Dom to 11, just so everybody knows I don't always give the money back just to Ken, But at the end of the day, when it's just about leverage. When Ken has no other options and it's not a salary cap issue, he just has to go back to Mr. Ilitch and say, look, I mean, we want to keep Dom. It's going to be, whatever it is. And I think in Buffalo, I probably could have asked. I mean, Dom Hasek was making $11 million 20 years ago. It's bizarre when you think that Connor McDavid is making 12.5 today.
Yeah, no salary cap, right? The top end guys.
But at the end of the day,
more, yeah.
They couldn't have gone on the ice. they didn't have much more than American Hockey League at that team at that time. They really weren't very good. I mean, and so they had no choice, right? So knowing that it does, you really don't need much leverage. You got it.
Now, can you know what? Hey, obviously you win and you need I remember you tell me, hey, coaches have told me, Ken Hitchcock, hey, you're only as good as a coach as your best players. You need good players. Obviously, it's a manager's job to get good players. Sometimes they fall in your lap. Sometimes you inherited them. There's lots of different ways. But there's always been rumblings of, well, you know what? How much the players have a say when it comes to player movement. You had Lidstrom and Yzerman and Shanahan and Chelios, and obviously the last few years, McDavid and Draisaitl. Did you ever talk to your star guys before you made a big move, or was that not a position you wanted to put players in?
What I've done as a manager, Jason, starting when I started to become manager in 1997 is, leading up, July 1st is free agency. As I went through that whole process in May and June with our staff, the pro scouts and looking at the lists, and this is before a salary cap world, meeting with Jim Devellano, and then Jimmy D and I would meet with Mr. and Mrs. Illich, lay out a plan. And, I would talk to my captain, Steve Yzerman, and I'd get his thoughts. What do you think about the team? What do you think maybe kind of give them a little bit what we're thinking philosophically, not specifically, because you weren't, because some of these people are going to sign. And then, when Steve retired, we got into a cap world, and Nick Lidstrom became the captain in 06 after we lost to Edmonton in 05, 06, and Steve retired and Nick became the captain. I would talk to, Nick in the off season, and then, maybe leading up to the trade deadline, a couple of weeks in advance of the trade deadline, call the captain in, and, whether it was, Steve, Nick, Zetterberg, or Connor, and, give them, I'd want to hear what they're thinking of the team, but also to give them an opportunity to tell me what they're thinking the team might need, and what I should try to do between that time and the trade deadline. And sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it depends. It's a lot harder in a salary cap world because of the salary cap. But certainly, I felt it was important to be in communication with the captain of my team at the key points in the season, to give him to hear what he's got to say about the team, and also to give the captain an opportunity to tell me what he thinks I should be looking to try to do.
And so I'm guessing then you would say, hey, maybe we need a second pair right defenseman, for instance, or, we need a more physical forward rather than just specific names, because there's no guarantee you can get that specific name, right? So it was more about a position.
Yeah, philosophically. Yeah. Do you think we need help on the back end, or what do you think we need? Do you think we're deep enough up front, or boy, could we get a fourth line guy that can win some draws and kill some penalties in here, or on occasion we did talk about certain names because it was going to be obvious that certain teams were out of the playoffs, and that team is selling that player, and so you might ask what do you think of this guy, or what do you think of that guy? But I'm just gathering information, and then ultimately, after I've gathered information from my people, from what I think about the team, talking to the coach, talking to the captain, and sometimes it was the captain and the assistant captain. I'd bring a couple of them in together, or two or three in together. And then ultimately, then I have to go back and start to work the phone lines. I'm talking about the trade deadline now. Now you're working the phone lines, but you kind of you've put together a game plan or an idea of what you would like to have happen between that period of time and the trade deadline. And then when you push forward to June, kind of go through the same process again. Talk to your pro scouts, talk to your people. You got to obviously, talk to, the people above you, Jim Devellano, Bob Nicholson, Jeff Jackson, the Illiches, Daryl Cates, and, and everybody's got it, so that, as you work your way through, you try to be ready to, make a decision. And you got to be, Jason, you got to go through that whole process so that when you're on the phone, you got to be able to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Like if you're not in a position to pull the trigger, like those people go elsewhere, like it's not like you're the only place to go. So you gotta, and that's the relationship that you got with the agent, the relationship that you, as a manager, that you might have with other general managers. Maybe you can go back and say, hey, I got to go back and make one call, but but at some point in time, you've got to pull the trigger, and then that manager leaves that phone call and you leave that phone call knowing that you in effect have got a gentleman's agreement, and you're going to turn that gentleman's agreement, at the trade deadline into official, a trade call, and then it becomes official. But you can't. You got to build up those relationships so that they know. Now, over the course of time, you hear the odd story about, something might have happened, and they thought they had a trade. No, they didn't have a trade, and certainly it makes it more difficult going forward in the future to make trades if you get that reputation in your circle of people, that your managers that you're dealing with.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, and you kind of answered it already, which is great. We'll take one final break. When we come back, there's two things that, like, in the best salesman has to be able to be a closer, and I think some of the best GMs have to be able to make that. At the end of the day, we've had all the talk. Now, either put up or shut up. I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to give up 2 first-rounders or whatever it is, and we make those trades. We'll talk about kind of when you learn when's the right time to pull the trigger. Also, how one of your players recently saved Christmas that you might not be aware of. That and more in the business of sports here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there, now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the Marathon, the Original, and the Orangesicle, made with oranges, orange sorbet, and vanilla frozen yogurt. Happy 25th, Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
The World Junior A Hockey Championships, December 9th to 15th. Teams from around the world are coming to Camrose. For more information, check out sports1440.ca.
For years now, we've been warning Edmontonians on the hazards of our stormwater facilities. While they may appear to look like still ponds, there is moving water beneath the surface, which makes the ice dangerously. The unpredictability of stormwater facilities makes them treacherously unsafe for all winter activities, even walking. So think twice. Don't go on the ice. A safety message from EPCOR.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love: better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade. Safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
A mullet for Marvin, a bowl cut for Barry, a pompadour for Peter, who's now really quite hairy. After this Christmas, all the men wish they could get some hair restoration from Dr. Vance Elliott.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vance Elliott. While you're Christmas shopping, consider giving yourself the greatest gift of all, a full natural head of hair. I know the results will be life-changing. Want to make this the year you get your mojo back? Book a free first consultation today at drvanceelliott.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan. For all your residential water needs, your local water treatment company. More than just big bottles, Culligan.com.
Look good, feel good, play good. It's the Jason Gregor Show. Thanks for listening to Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
We continue on Wednesday afternoon. Jason Gregor, Rich Winter with you. The business of sports inside the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And our special guest today, of course, is the Hall of Famer, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, Ken Holland, who, of course, was a assistant GM and scouting for over 30 years in the National Hockey League. Now is working as a consultant for the NHL. And Ken, you told us before the break about how, at some point you got to be able to pull a trigger, right? Like whether it's pull the trigger or walk away from a trade, and you sit and you make those deals. And how do you learn when's the right time to make the trade or even to initiate the trade conversation where you don't want that to come back and be used against you from opposing GMs? Do you like to be the initiator of trade talk and throw out the first offer, or did you like them to throw out the first offer? How does that work in trade talks?
You know what, Jason, it all works differently. Sometimes, you pick up the phone and you call somebody and I'm going to offer you X for that. Or sometimes you're calling and saying, who's running the trade? Basically, if you're a seller and you're at the deadline and you've got, a tremendous hockey player and you can't get him signed, you're running the trade because he's got multiple people, multiple teams he's talking to, and he's going to kind of tell, here's the basics and here's what I'm looking for. And then if he gets too much, then maybe people drop out, but ultimately, it works towards a conclusion. But, basically trade deadline is say early March. Middle of January to late January, every NHL team is having their pro scouting meetings. They're looking at the standings. Sometimes, some teams are clearly in, they're going to be buyers. Some teams are clearly out, they're going to be sellers. And then there's those teams in the middle that need to kind of work the phones, but they're not sure what they're going to do. And then the managers start talking, and maybe you might not talk to 31 managers because there's some teams that maybe are your rivals and you're competing against them. You're not going to do a trade. But you're going to talk to 23, 24, 25 of the other managers. And what are you thinking? Well, I'm sitting tight. I'm not sure, or I'm going to be a buyer, or I'm going to be a seller. And I'm looking to be a buyer, you're a seller. Who you moving? Well, we're probably looking to move this guy, that guy, and that guy. We might be trying to re-sign this one. If we can re-sign him, great. If not, we're going to put him on the open market. And then you tell him, well, I've got an interest in that player and that player, but I don't need that player. I'm looking for forwards. I'm not looking for defensemen. Keep me on your list. Keep me posted. Don't do anything without doubling back. I'm interested. Or they'll say, if somebody wants to give me a second round pick, I'll do the first team to give me a second round pick is in. It's sort of maybe a bottom six player, and you're thinking, oh boy, I'd like to give a third or a fourth, but and then maybe as they push their way towards the trade deadline, they might have a couple teams for seconds, or they got to lower their offer to a third round pick. So it's a negotiation. It's gut instinct. It's experience. It's relationships. It's kind of assessing the market and knowing, is there going to be 40 forwards moved between now and the deadline, or is there going to be 14 forwards moved? So having sort of an understanding of the marketplace, which I think obviously is doing your homework and doing your research and kind of working the phones, and ultimately making it. And Rich is an agent, whether it's finally agreeing to a contract or it's finally agreeing to a trade, it's a process, it's a relationship, and it's gut instinct. And I believe the more experience you have at it, the better you get at it, just because you've been in more, you've seen how all these things work.
Ken, I don't know if you play fantasy sports or not, maybe golf, because I know you love golf, but fantasy sports has become huge for lots of sports fans. They love it. They're in their leagues. There's 12 guys, 14 guys, girls, whatever. And there's always one or two that are the worst, that just offer you absolute junk all the time. You're like, this is a waste of my time. What the hell are you doing? Did you have guys you're just like, oh man, it's Bob calling again. He's going to offer you. He wants my best player for a second. Or like, did you have guys like that you kind of chuckled and you knew that they were always coming in at like the worst possible offer?
Well, I mean, I think there's guys that they're going to try to just start out at the bargain basement there. And
were you one of those guys?
Well, I was always I became a manager in '97. We won the cup. So I think we made the playoffs the next 18 years. So I was always a buyer.
Okay.
And then at the last 2-3 years in Detroit, I became a seller. Traded off Nyquist, traded off Tatar, traded off Smitty, Brendan Smith. And then obviously when I got to Edmonton, we got back to being the buyer. So, do you go in and offer something lower? Yeah, you might. I don't know if it's lower. It might be what I think the thing is the player's worth to me.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can go get more elsewhere, great. And because you got maybe there's multiples that you like, and so it's the reality is, Jason, you got to do business with these people. There's 32 general managers, and you've got to do business with those other 31 managers on an ongoing, regular basis. So I think you kind of figure out in short order. When I came in, Glenn Sather was a general manager, and Harry Sinnen was. I can't remember if Harry was there, but there was some of those legendary people were still in the business and have since retired. And you learn pretty quick that you gotta play the game the way the game's supposed to be worked. And then as I start to have more years, as younger people come in, they're talking to the Doug Armstrongs and the Lou Lamorellos and the David Poyles, and they start to learn how the business of being a general manager works amongst the 32 managers.
Now, Rich wanted me to ask you, do you know how last year at this coming up to December, how Calvin Pickard saved Christmas?
Yeah.
You do know?
No, tell me.
Yeah, Rich?
Okay, so we're meeting in Ken's favorite spot. I order the tea for him arriving slightly late, as is quite often the case. And he and I have a long talk about Calvin Pickard, and this is sort of the human element of this business. And Ken's is pretty good at this. And we had Adam Ernie here, Ken, and he has 3 little kids, and Ken's doing everything he can, and I believe him, to keep Adam here for Christmas. Right? He's got 3 kids under the age of 4. But he says to me, if you remember, Ken, over at the Tim Hortons, you said, but Rich, I've got to bring Campbell up because we got to see what he's got. We paid him a lot of money, so I can't, I'm doing everything I can. I'm doing everything I can to keep Adam here, but we're going to go to New York, and Calvin's going to get a game. And I remember saying to you that I'm pretty confident. I know Calvin pretty well. I've seen his demeanor. I feel very comfortable. You're not getting Campbell back here because Calvin won't let that happen. I remember you thought, well, yeah, you're being an agent. I appreciate your optimism, but Rich, I'm doing everything I can. I just want you to know I can't guarantee it. And at the end of the day, Calvin played extremely well. Campbell never comes up. And this is where, this is the part of the business that's really hard. And this is what fans don't think about. Here's a young man who might not be able to be with his kids for Christmas because Ken may have to make that decision. Now, a lot of GMs would be sensitive. Many could care less. They've just got to do what they've got to do. But I just remember thinking at Christmas, and Adam dropped over, and just thinking of him with those 3 little kids, that Ken Holland made the effort. Maybe it doesn't work unless Calvin plays well and saves Christmas for the Adam Ernie family.
How much of that, Ken, did you take into the human element of your job as a GM? And obviously you have to understand the person's family, their situation. How much of that is a factor that is beyond the salary cap and beyond the dollars?
I would say I tried to the best that I could, take in that the player has got a family. And even if they're not a family, even if he's single, he's young, they're people. Because I was that person 50 years ago or 40 years ago, however long ago. I played 9 years in the American Hockey League, and then when I having players get called up and get sent down. When I was with Binghamton, we were with the Hartford Whalers. So, I guess whenever when Rich and I talked about Adam Ernie, I think I'd said to Rich, I'm gonna do everything I can to get Adam to Christmas. And it's like early to mid-December, and because we had the salary cap, and I can't remember exactly. The team was obviously, now we kind of got into that 8-game winning streak, and then we'd lost 3, and then I think we won 24 out of 27. And I wanted to, Adam's got, is it 3 kids under the age of 5 or?
Right. And keep in mind, Ken, the reason this was the problem, because if you bring Campbell up, he has a bigger salary cap hit. You can't keep Adam in the lineup, right? So that was the Calvin's at the minimum.
And I also think Pick was up. Pick's family, Calvin Picker's family was in Bakersfield. And, and Calvin was playing in Edmonton. Well, he's missing his family. So, Pick didn't want to move his family up to Edmonton and then find out 3 days later he's going back. So you're trying to, I'm in negotiate or in communication with the players. I'm in communication with the agent. At this time it's Rich. I had many visits with Adam Ernie, leading up to, and eventually I think Adam went down there just after Christmas and played the second half of the year in the American Hockey League. But I had many visits with Adam Ernie and then a few coffees at Tim Hortons with Rich about Adam Ernie and Cal Pickard, because
right.
they're on the bubble. They're on the Jason, they're sort of on the bubble. They're not. They're not sure if any day they could go down, and they want to be up, and then they've got family issues, and you're also trying to, Jason. The last thing is, I think if you're going to get the best out of an athlete, he wants to have his head in a good frame versus worried about this, worried about that, worried about hasn't seen his family, worried about this, worried about that. So, but there's also, on the other hand, the team. And you're trying, and the coach, and you're trying to win, and there's and all those other things. So you're trying to juggle all those things to the best of your ability.
Well, I think in that whole year, like the element of the personal element is, keep in mind, remember when Bakersfield came up to Calgary, they played in Calgary for some reason, and then they went back to Bakersfield and came to Calgary. And you gave Adam, you just said, Rich, let him go. I want to let him go home spend time with his kids. So you let him take a week off.
Yeah, we took a week off. He had been down there, I think, about a month, as Richard said. And I looked at the schedule. He looked at the schedule, and then Bakersfield had played one home game in a week, and then they were going up to Calgary. So I called Rich, and I said, Rich, I'm calling in Adam tomorrow. I'm going to tell Adam. I think they played at home on a Saturday night, like the following Tuesday or something. They were in Bakersfield. The team was going to fly up on the following Sunday, or maybe it was Monday, Tuesday. So I called Rich and I said, I'm calling Adam in tomorrow, and I'm telling Adam to jump on a plane, fly home. Don't worry about the Wednesday home game. We've got lots of bodies there. You spend a week with your family, and then the team will be up. The team will be up because, you got to be physically in great shape, but you got to be mentally in great shape. Yeah. Playing professional sports.
And the funny thing you don't know is, remember, you agreed, even though the team on the road normally stayed in single hotel rooms, you agreed, because Ernie is up in Edmonton with the 3 kids. Adam's coming to Calgary. You agreed to get him a 2-bedroom suite at the Sheraton. You didn't have to do that. You did that, but to me, the real nature of the hardship these families go through was evidence. So I had a room at the Sheraton because I went down to see Adam play. Now I'm going back to my room. I don't know who I met with, but Adam got called up while he was there. And I just remember walking up to my room. So I didn't know where Adam's room was. It must have been on the same floor as mine, because here it is. We're at 11:30, 12 at night, and Mom just wants to get the kids home to bed. So I see Ello pushing a baby carriage, holding 2 children in her arms. Adam's got the other one. And you think to yourself, yeah, this is an easy job. And you know what? People don't see the human element, and it's really tough. And people like Ken, at least you can communicate them, and they're better. I think a lot of people don't realize Stevie Eiserman has 3 kids. I have 3 girls. I have 4 girls. So we get to know each other, and we talk a lot about those things. I'm probably the only one that knows that there's a member of the Holland family that has a world record, right, Ken?
Yeah, you got a good memory.
Yeah, and what is the record? It's bizarre, but it was fascinating.
It's running the 100-yard dash. Julie, our oldest daughter, about 3 years ago in Vernon, ran the 100-yard dash, but it's basically on all 4, it's feet and hands, and then we had to have about 10 or 15 people there as witnesses, and then we had to have it on video. We had to time her, and and she got into the Guinness Book of World Records.
Oh, so Ken
I
Holland's
don't
in
know
the
if
Hall of
she's
Fame.
still in there, but it was a world record, and she got put into the Guinness Book of World Records. But to see my daughter, she's she'd have been in early 30s back then. To see her run 100 yards that she's running on her hands and her feet and her hands for 100 yards was.
I don't know if I have the video in my phone because you sent it to me, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever
Oh
seen.
my God, that's dedication. That is dedication.
I don't even know how does that come about. I'm going to win the all fours 100-meter dash.
I know you got to try something. I like it. Ken, it's always great to see you, man. I hope things are going well. It's always great to talk to you, and thanks so much for sharing some time and your insight on the business of sports and in your career. We thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Rich.
Have a nice Christmas, man. I'll talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
take care. Yeah, happy
Same.
holidays.
There you go. That's Hall of Famer Ken Holland. Genuinely one of the nicest guys. Rich, you obviously dealt with a lot of GMs, and Ken Holland is widely respected in hockey circles for really kind of how he treats people.
Yeah, he treats you very well, especially when he needs you. But I still remember sitting I don't know why I took my kids to Miami in July. We got really good deals on the airfare. We got really good deals in the hotel. It was hot. It was sweaty, but Dom was trying to come back. And if Ken is not sure and doesn't know if he's going to do the deal, it is like the biggest nightmare to try and get a hold of him. So yes, generally a good guy, but sometimes a little more challenging than you might think. And I can remember going back to the hotel room 3 or 4 times every couple of hours. Like, Ken, are we bringing him back? So Ken's really good when things are going well, but it can be a challenge when he's not got a decision, or he's not ready, as he said earlier in the show. He's not ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah, nice.
But good man, really good guy.
We'll pull the trigger on this because this just broke. So we'll get it fixed. We'll take a break. We'll get to Connor Halley. That's another edition of the Business of Sport. Jason Gregor and Rich Winter. Rich, we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good one. Conman Sports 1440 update brought to you by the Alberta GMC dealers, and big sale going on, but get in now. There's only a few days left on the Canada-wide clearance event is on now. You can get a $7,500 cash credit on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Tuesday night on the ice in the NHL. 15 games on the schedule. The Wild in Buffalo, Devils taking on the Blues. Canes and Rangers. Flames travel to Detroit. The Leafs up against the Panthers. Islanders host the Bruins. Canucks in Pittsburgh. Canadians taking on the Jackets and the Jets in Los Angeles. To wrap it all up, you have the Sharks hosting the Ottawa Senators in the Association. Raptors in action. They'll take on the New Orleans Pelicans. That one gets going just after 6 o'clock. Some news from the CFL is the Alouettes have signed quarterback Davis Alexander with a 3-year contract extension. And former New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, who was cut by the team last Friday, looks like he's going to end up with the Minnesota Vikings. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Sportsnet host Ken Reed. Also, Brian Viardo from CBS Sports will join us to preview the week in the NFL. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
I'm Gene Principe for Legacy Heating and Cooling. Some people think I only know hockey, but I know from the flame in your furnace to your muddy ducts. At Legacy, we never shark our duties. We get cracking and knuckle down to have your heating and cooling systems working right, so you get a comfortable night's sleep. And that's just our division. I mean, a division of Legacy. But let's get to Pacifics. With Legacy, you'll get no interest and no prints of payments for 1 year on your new furnace. Legacy, the difference with Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Ready to tackle your toughest tasks? Edmonton Kubota has you covered with the all-new M8 Series tractor with powerful 181 and 201 horsepower engines, Cummins power, and loader readiness. It's built to handle any challenge. And now, for a limited time, get a free 4-year extended warranty when you drive off with an M8 Series tractor. Don't miss out on this unbeatable offer. Visit Edmonton Kubota today and power up your productivity. Edmonton Kubota, where power meets performance.
It's Black Friday at the Brick. Doors open at 7 a.m. and the first 10 customers in line will receive a $50 credit to use towards any purchase. Plus, incredible door crasher specials until 9 a.m., like free local delivery on purchases over $499. Friday only. Save 65% off sofas when you buy the matching Love Seater chair. Plus, buy any TV or appliance and get a $50 credit on furniture, decor, and mattresses. Some exclusions apply. See thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Delicious news. The McDonald's meals you love are now $9.99 every day. Grab your faves like the Big Mac, 6-piece McNuggets, McChicken, or Filet-O-Fish with medium fries and a medium fountain drink for $9.99 each plus tax. At participating McDonald's restaurants in Edmonton, Alberta, and the surrounding area. Prices exclude delivery.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Joppa Machinery. Did you know that Joppa offers in-house and on-site service? Rain or shine, Joppa's service department is here for you. Get a quote now at joppamachinery.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
5:06. Welcome back. Gregor Show, Sports 1440. You can text us 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440 in our eWell inbox, your partner in power for all your electrical gear, baby, 24/7 at the revamped EWEL.ca. You can get it there. And obviously, anything you need, keep you safe, keep you rolling, keep you busy. EWEL.ca. We got lots and lots of texts flying in at 833-401-1440. Hey, guys, hearing all the machinery behind the contract negotiations from two hockey legends is gold. This is Sports Talk Radio at its best. Reminds me of what John Short brought to sports radio. Thanks. Comes from Mark. Well, hey, Mark, it's a big honor to mention. Anytime you're mentioning the same note as John Short, that's a big plus for me. So thanks for that. Many other ones say, guys, Ken Holland, unbelievable. I miss him as a GM. I get maybe why they moved on, but still great stories, good insight. Miami, you have that many years and that much success. And here's the funny thing. I know there's Ken Holland wasn't very good. I'm like, what? All you got to do is look at the Oilers record before Ken Holland, and then look at what happened when he came here. Playoffs every year. Team continually got better. Made more good moves than bad. Not every move works. They made more good moves than bad. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. They got to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. It's, the GM's job is to get a competitive team. Make a competitive team, keep them competitive. And that's what he did. It's his time in Edmonton, no doubt about it. Now, let's get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by Sunrise Charter Company, one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches that will safely take you or your group to your next destination. Book your ride today. Ride in style at silentrides.ca. We had, of course, Spec on earlier. Well, he was supposed to be on a flight. Then Wonders of Flying World, his flight got postponed. And but that allows us to have good friend of the show from Rogers Sportsnet, Ken Reed, back on. Reader, how you doing, my man?
Good, Gregor. See, Spec should have taken the bus. So I got such a great sponsor, man. And I heard you talking about the great stories with Ken Holland. It's all about the stories and the bus, man. No better place to tell stories than the back of the bus with the boys, right?
It is very true. Like, there's certain guys that, like, I've had the opportunity. I golfed with Ken once. At the start of the season, we were on the same team, and we weren't talking. And I knew there's certain time and place to talk business, and then there's other times you're just sharing some stories. And he's obviously a huge golf guy, so we got into some golf stories, and then some other stuff, and then it bled into hockey, and he was fantastic. And really, and after that, him and I had a much better relationship. I found just to. It was a little bit more open, could relate to some of those things, tie it back in. And he is a guy like his. It was hilarious. Like he was telling me, and he's pulling it up on his phone, like his golf. He had an annual golf trip that he would do with his guys. And I talked to some of the other GMs that he invited on, and they were just like, oh my God, like I think Ken, being an NHL GM is like his job, but it ain't his passion compared to golfing tournaments. So they were hilarious about it. Like, he was so into his golf tournament, he arranged everything. This guy plays here, and he's matching handicaps, and it was it's like a full-time job, and he loved it. So it was.
I need a buddy like that. Golf, like me and my buddies we did a golf trip last year, but it was just I semi-organized it. I picked the spot, but we don't do the matchups or anything like that. But I've never gone on a big 8 to 16 deep golf trip, which would be a lot of fun, I think.
Oh, dude, I do it every summer. We have it in August. We are buys 12 to 16 guys. One year we had 24. because we kind of combined it with the Stag. And it's been unreal.
Wow.
And yeah, our buddy JR, like they keep track of all the scores and, you know, they count everything. So it's loads of fun. So I just get to show up, which is unreal. So that's
fine.
That's
too.
great. Speaking of showing up, Florida, Toronto tonight, an interesting matchup of two teams right now going in very different directions. The Maple Leafs 7-1 without Matthews. The defending champs have lost 6 of 7. Their coach is back to dropping F-bombs all over the place at practice to get them fired up, which I like. But, you know, I still look at this game, and you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know it's only a regular season game in late November, but this is one of those games you say, if we're going to be the team that has what they have, we got to find a way to beat this team.
Yeah, and then if they lose, they can just say, "Oh, we don't have Austin Matthews," right? So, if you were to watch the Leafs extensively now, and you know, you obviously being here, I'm exposed to them a lot more than I have been in the past. I was at the game the other night with our good buddy Mike Rupp, and we're sitting there going, "Wow, these guys are playing the right way." Like when they beat Vegas last week, I think it was 3-0, and they beat Utah the other night 3-2. They're playing the right way. They're playing a way that they did not play until Craig Berube got here. They were missing 6 of their top 12 forwards the other night. You wouldn't know it. They continue to play the right way. To be on this tear without Austin Matthews, it's not an indictment of Austin Matthews. It's just a reflection of what a good team game these guys are playing. And William Nylander just continues to impress me beyond all belief. But I think the best part, Gregor, when it comes to the Leafs, is their defense. And you can watch a game and you go, "Oh, I didn't notice the defense." And that's because it's just good, right? Like Chris Tanev. A casual fan wouldn't notice Chris Tanev, but if you watch him, you're like, he's just doing everything right. So they got a little unsexier, but they got a lot better, I think. And their record's pretty much the same. It's not as flashy, but it's more effective.
Is obviously Craig Berube, every coach has a different style. Is the fact that now, is he just better at delivering the message, or are his pupils, students, a little bit more attentive after so many continual heartaches in the playoffs?
You know, when you come out of a year in school and you had a real easy teacher and you can kind of do kind of what you want, you're still a good student, but you can do what you want. I think there's a new teacher in town or a new principal, and the new principal maybe is a little stricter than the last one. He's going to hold you more accountable, and I think that's what Craig Berube is. There was a great when Berube was hired, going around Instagram, there was this great juxtaposition of a Berube pep talk before the Blues won in 2019, as opposed to a Sheldon Keefe pep talk. Did you see it?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Go out there and have fun. Yeah, Berube didn't say go out there and have fun. So there's a new law and order in town, and I think it's much more accountable, or perhaps it's the same amount of accountability, but if you're scared a little by your teacher, you tend to do kind of more what they say, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, it makes sense. Now, that division's very tight right now. The one, you know, you've got the regular usual suspects, Florida, Toronto, Tampa Bay. But now you've got the Buffalo Sabres lurking right there. They're 1 point back of Tampa. They're 2 back of Florida. They got some games in hand. What do you like? The Buffalo Sabres at some point it's put up or shut up with this group. You missed the playoffs 13 years in a row. Do you watch the Sabres? They're right close. What do you make of this team? Are they that much improved? Because on paper, like I really like their top four defense.
On paper.
Yeah,
they're like Ottawa on paper. It's them in Ottawa. You keep waiting for them to make a move. But I mean, on paper, you know, like Talk, Aline, Paige Thompson, you know, Owen Power. I love Ryan McLeod too. I'm sure you guys miss him, but like on paper, it should have already happened. But I guess the core is young, so it's going to take a while longer. But you know, they're getting some good goaltending from one of the best names to say in the game, right? Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah,
that's fun to say.
It's a great name.
So anytime hopefully I'll get to say Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen a bunch of times this week. But yeah, with Buffalo, I think it's just their due. But I think if they do get in, it'll be a wild card. You know, they'll have to do that. And I'm not saying they're an easy out. There's no such thing as easy outs anymore. But maybe a just kind of a state of the franchise victory for them would be just getting in. You know what I mean? Just making the playoffs.
Yes.
Probably make enough people smile.
Oh, yeah.
They'll still be in top.
Yeah, you got to just get in. At least it ends the drought, the longest drought in NHL history. I think it's the longest drought right now in North America, the 4 leagues. So it's obviously not great.
And I still think Boston wakes up a little bit. I know everybody says they have no talent left and it's been a drain. It has been, but I still think they wake up. They can't be.
Eh?
I don't think they're a 500 team. Right?
Yeah.
I think they 23 points in 23 games, but to me, they're still better than that. So, I think they might be able to kill Buffalo's buzz just a little bit.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my question. So good. You answered. So we can move on. The other team is Tampa Bay. What's your read on, I look on paper at Kucherov, and you got Point, and you got Hedman, and you got Vasilevsky, and yada, yada, yada. And they're, they're not playing poorly. They're 11-7-2. Where are you on Tampa? Some people thought that, they were going to fall out of it. I'm not one. They haven't been great lately at 4-4-2 in their last 10 after a pretty good start. Well, what do you make of Tampa Bay?
I wonder how much they'll miss Stamkos. So far, but they're not who they were, I don't think. There's no doubt about that. So when you sit back and you go, okay, you still got Kucherov, you got Hedman. For me, Hedman's, if I'm building a team, I think he's still one of my starting blocks, big, steady, solid defenseman. So they should be able to get there with Vasilevsky. But yeah, it's kind of boring. And it seems like it's like this every year. But the Atlantic, it's the same old, right?
Yeah.
It's Toronto, Florida, Tampa Bay, Boston, and then everybody else, which is unfortunate. And you would think at some point that would turn around, but I still think Tampa would probably, to me, they're a 3-4 team probably in the division. I think it comes down to Florida and Boston for the division title, and that would be my take. And Tampa maybe just fighting that 3 spot.
Ken Reed joins us from Rogers Sportsnet. Ken, when you're in Toronto, of course, the Leafs are pretty big. There's no question about it. But there is another pro team there playing right now in the Toronto Raptors, who are obviously off to a tough start at 4-14. They're 0-10 on the road so far this season. They're 4-4 at home. What's the vibe around the Raptors? Everybody thought they weren't going to be good. I don't know if people thought they'd be this bad, but this might be good for them. If you're going to be bad, be this bad.
I think if there's a vibe around the Raptors, it would be, there's a vibe around the Raptors. You don't hear anything. Okay. It's a moot point. I think it's people want them to tank for Cooper Flag. If you talk about the Raptors at all, it's okay, let's just lose. But, there's the buzzer beater in Detroit the other night, and a couple guys in the newsroom are going, well, that's the perfect Raptors game, They lost in the last second. They put forth a good effort.
Yeah.
But there's talk about should they deal Pirtle and stuff, but that's about the only, honest to God, it's I don't know if sad is the word. People aren't apathetic when it comes to them, but there's no buzz. The biggest buzz so far this year was the Vince Carter night.
Right.
Since that, there's, you don't see anybody wearing Raptors shirts around much anymore or anything like that. It's just people realize this is a team that, 4 wins at the start of the year. We said 25 over under. Probably looks like it's going to be under. It's a tough league to win. It's an impossible league to win, and if you don't win on the road, and it's beyond impossible if you're 0-10 on the road. So
yeah,
they're in tough, man.
And it's there's no quick fix for this.
No,
right?
There's not. I mean, Cooper Flag will be outstanding, but even if they say we're to finish dead last and win the lottery and draft Cooper Flag, he's still not enough alone. It's still going to be a couple of years. Although I would say of the 4 major sports leagues, the easiest one for a quick fix is the NBA, because one player in the NBA can do far more than one player can in any other sport. I would wager. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
You can play a superstar for 40 of those 48, but yeah, I think this is going to be a while. Put it that way.
Yeah, if they get Flag, and then they'll probably need one other draft, but and then ultimately they're going to have to be able to attract some free agents. That's just the truth.
Yep, and I think that's doable here. NBA players like Toronto, I think that the Toronto being in a foreign land, that vibe's kind of done. Definitely done with baseball too. But yeah, as far as a buzz goes, there isn't one. That's what I would say. There is not a buzz.
Now, speaking of a buzz or lack thereof, Juan Soto, the Jays, are they going to come up just short again? Is he going to sign with the Mets for $700 million, and then the people in Toronto are going to be like, oh, we were close?
Remember when George Bush said, "Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice," and he couldn't figure it out? Or no, fool me once, like me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. He couldn't figure it out. I don't know anyone in Toronto who's buying into this Soto talk.
Okay.
And I know that the Jays didn't qualify Romano last week.
Yeah.
And here's my take on the Jays. You can talk all you want about the Jays. Bottom line for me is I have absolutely zero faith, like negative $1 billion in Shapiro and Atkins.
Yeah, I agree
to
with you.
evaluate talent, to make a move. If they were to sign Soto, which won't happen, it would be because of ownership putting the money out. It would have nothing to do with Shapiro and Atkins. I think Shapiro and Atkins are absolutely unqualified to run a Major League Baseball team. They fixed the stadium in Cleveland and ruined the team. They fixed the stadium in Toronto, and there you go.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you. The track record has not been good at all, Ken. So I like having you on, buddy. I appreciate
buddy,
it.
Listen, this is my favorite thing. They're like, oh, people at Sportsnet aren't honest about the Jays. That's pretty honest. That's as flagrant as I can put it out for you. I had no faith in those guys. No faith. And I feel horrible for players that have signed there long-term that have to put up with the ineptness of their front office.
Is Vladdy going to sign long-term?
It's a great question. If you were Vladimir Guerrero, would you sign long-term with those two guys pulling the strings? Now, the best thing, Guerrero's going into his last year. The best hope any Blue Jays fan has is that Shapiro and Atkins, I believe, are also going to their last years. So, you know what? You bring a new boss in town, maybe I'll sign. And yeah, I work for the company that owns the Blue Jays as well, Rogers. But let me tell you this, and this may sound like I'm kissing the boss's butt too, but Rogers put a tremendous amount of money into payroll for that team.
Yeah.
And Shapiro and Atkins blew it. So if I was the boss and I was putting that money in again, I'd be pretty ticked off. But if I was Vladdy and I know that those two guys were supposed to be the guys who surround me with talent, I wouldn't have too much faith in those two guys.
It's hard to argue that. Kenny, great stuff, my man. We appreciate it. Have yourself an awesome day.
Thanks for having me on, Jason. Take care, buddy.
Okay, that's Ken Reed from Ron. You know what? We got a lot of Jays fans texting in. It's totally true. I am floored that they kept them in their positions this year. I don't understand it. Like, what more do you need to see? The team has gone backwards when they had their young guys and they're like, okay, now we're young guys. Now we're just going to keep climbing up. And they've gone the opposite direction. And I don't see it getting any better. And they've still got some good young players, but I don't trust their management to surround them with anybody else. That's the problem. 833-401-1440. I will come back. We'll hear more from Darnell Nurse a little bit later on this hour. The Oilers, of course, day off today. Still got a few guys under the weather, but it's a planned day off. They'll have a brief skate tomorrow morning, then they jet out to Utah. Utah did win last night. They are on their way home from a lengthy Eastern Road swing. And then they will host the Oilers. The Utah Hockey Club has allowed 10 power play goals in the last 10 games. Can the Oilers power play wake up Friday night? We'll see. We'll discuss that and a little football next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Vimy and Donnan Hockey are dedicated to skill development for all hockey players. If you are a student athlete interested in growing as both a person and a hockey player, visit vimyridge.epsb.ca or donnan.ca to register for a free shadow day. Beginner or an experienced player, these programs are designed to nurture and develop your skills in a positive and supportive environment. Vimy and Donnan help student athletes pursue their passion for hockey while achieving their academic goals. Register for a Vimy and Donnan Hockey Shadow Day today.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meats, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste, fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
Need a solid foundation without the fuss? Richard and Kalina at DCL Pile Driving have your back. Locally owned, they offer straight, driven piles. No screwing around. Serving all of Alberta, DCL Pile Driving gets your foundation ready in hours with minimal ground disturbance. Perfect for tight spaces, whether it's for a deck, grain bins, or RTMs. Tell them the radio sent you and receive a special discounted rate. Call or text 587-322-PILE. DCL Pile Driving. Don't get screwed. Get piles driven.
Prime Fasteners and Tools, your trusted source for the latest Milwaukee products and deals. Prime Fasteners and Tools offers power tools, accessories, storage solutions, and the fasteners you need to get your project done on time and on budget. Whether you're a contractor or a weekend warrior, everyone is welcome at Prime Fasteners and Tools. For the best Milwaukee experience, visit Prime Fasteners and Tools, located at 12304 184th Street.
Hey, it's Scott from Sherwood and St. Albert Dodge. I think it's safe to say we are all paying attention to interest rates these days. If so, you'll like this. We have 0% financing available on Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer. 0% on the Dodge Durango and the all-new Hornet. And the rates on Ram 1500, Ram 2500, and Ram 3500, you guessed it, 0%. Are you picking up the theme? We have 0% financing on virtually all 2024 new models with hundreds to choose from. Why pay interest? Instead, come get a new vehicle at St. Albert and Sherwood Dodge.
Employee pricing is on now at GMC. Get up to $10,104 off select 2024 Sierra 2500 AT4 models. Make loading easier than ever with the world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. Make hauling easier than ever with up to 14 available camera views, including transparent trailer view. And make finding tunes easier than ever with a class-leading 13.4-inch diagonal center touchscreen. Yeah, let's get to work. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Delicious news. The McDonald's meals you love are now $9.99 every day. Grab your faves like the Big Mac, 6-piece McNuggets, McChicken, or Filet-O-Fish with medium fries and a medium fountain drink for $9.99 each plus tax. At participating McDonald's restaurants in Edmonton, Alberta, and the surrounding area. Prices exclude delivery.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Can Torque. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantorque.com.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
528. Welcome back. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook. Remember, 15 games tonight in the NHL, and lots of them going to get going in about 10 to 12 minutes time. Of course, Oilers not playing tonight. And you know the other team who's not playing tonight? The team that the Oilers play on Friday, Utah. Lots of the other, pretty much every other team, well, not pretty much, every other team in the league is in action tonight. 30 teams going at it. No games tomorrow for Thanksgiving. And then Friday, 14 games, followed by 12 on Saturday. Oilers, of course, playing both those nights, Friday and Saturday. Lots of teams going back-to-back after no games on Thursday. Lots of teams actually playing 3 and 4. So the Oilers will be the most rested team, no doubt. Utah just comes back from a long road trip. They do win their final road game in Montreal last night, 3-2 in extra time. It was not a riveting game by any stretch of the imagination, but Utah gets the win. They are a team that I think is ripe for the picking. We'll see if the Oilers can take advantage of it tomorrow night. Now, some big news. We're going to talk some NFL now. We get to our football report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home to no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter at legacyheating.ca. As once again from CBS Sports NFL writer Brian Diardo joins us. Brian, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I always love hearing your hockey talk. It's just a reminder that I need to get my annual viewing of Miracle done sometime soon. So, yeah, I always love hearing you guys talk hockey. It's always good to be on with you guys.
Is that your go-to hockey movie?
Yeah, you can't consider Happy Gilmore a hockey movie, obviously. It's more of a golf movie. Yeah, Mighty Ducks, I liked it. It came out when I was a kid. But, yeah, you got to go Miracle. It was such a great moment. Now, I will say this, and I took some grief for it. I kind of did cheer for Team Canada in 2010 because they had my favorite player, Sidney Crosby. So, I kind of go both sides there. But, yeah, that's my go-to. I don't know about you guys, but that's probably my favorite hockey movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, mine's Slapshot, just because it's classic.
Never seen that.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah, I need to see that.
Brian, you need try. Now, it is obviously in the 70s, and, so now, obviously, some things have changed in the game, and but I'm telling you, epic movie. There's so many hilarious scenes in that movie, and it's very realistic to how it was at that time. That's what's and Bruce Boudreau, of course, longtime NHL coach. Actually, lots of the scenes were filmed in his bedroom where they filmed that. So too funny. Little added.
Sudden death. Sudden death. Maybe Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh yeah,
maybe
Penguins. Well, if you're a Pens fan, I can see it. Yeah, and see it. Yeah. So.
Yep.
It's got some hockey connections for sure. Let's start with the big news for the Kansas City Chiefs. Pacheco, according to Andy Reid, he is going to play on Friday. How much of a boost do you think this is going to bring to that attack?
Yeah, obviously it will be a little bit of a wrinkle for sure. I wouldn't expect him to get a bunch of touches. I think it might just be a chance for him to get his feet wet or at least be activated. It gives them an option, if Kareem Hunt is banged up or maybe could get some garbage time. I mean, I definitely think he'll probably get some work. And here's a benefit or an advantage is that he hasn't played. Now, albeit he has been recovering from an injury, but all these other players have had the rigors of a long season to this point. They just played on Sunday in a tough game against the Carolina Panthers. He hasn't played. So that could be maybe a little bit of a sprinkle here. If he is healthy and ready to go, that could be kind of an added dimension to this game because he is indeed healthier. But I will say this, it just adds another layer to that offense. Noah Gray, their backup tight end, I think 4 touchdowns his last 2 games or something like that. Good pickup on fantasy if you can still get him. Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, who they just got. I mean, they're not winning by impressive margins, but they're 10-1. And obviously, I think Pacheco could have a pretty good impact on Friday for sure.
Daniel Jones signs in Minnesota. Obviously, I don't know if this is just their plan to have him as their guy next year or not. What do you make of it? I don't expect him to play a lot, of course not. But what's your thoughts on Jones? Is this a guy who can kind of be rehabilitated like Sam Darnold was?
I think so, and I think Darnold's a great comp, and I think that's why. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach, did just say, "I've always liked him."
Yeah,
and so I obviously that he believes that he can revive his career, and when I watched Daniel Jones play, you absolutely saw flashes of what he could do. He could make good, hard NFL throws. He can command an offense, and he has the history to back it up. He did take the Giants to. Ironically, his one playoff win came against the Vikings 2 years ago. So and that's the New York Giants' only playoff win since they beat the Patriots for the second time in the Super Bowl. And that was 13 years ago. I still had hair back then. So it's been a minute. And and so I think that he certainly is capable of it. And I give him credit. He said he didn't want to go somewhere that was quarterback needy. He wanted to go somewhere that was stable, which, let's face it, he hasn't had much stability in New York. And so, and again, I think it's one thing that we all see, right? There are certainly outliers. There are those special quarterbacks out there, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, but there's also guys that can do well in a system. And I think that Daniel Jones could do that if there's good systems around him. We're seeing it with Sam Darnold right now in Minnesota.
Yeah, 100%. A system can set it up for sure. I think the Giants has been proven. Maybe they're just not that good of a team. I don't think Saquon Barkley would be doing what he's doing in Philly. In New York, although I still might have kept him more. Like you look at some of the decisions management team in New York has made, and they have not really panned out very well, to say the least. And now the Giants and the Cowboys, the Cowboys, I think, shocked everybody with their win over Washington last weekend. Them and Detroit are always hosting on Thanksgiving. They got Chicago and Detroit. Detroit should crush them. The Giants and Dallas, good. I don't know how that game will be. But then Green Bay and Miami is rather intriguing to me because Miami suddenly, they've got their quarterback back. they're 5-6, and they're not out of it. Like that's a pretty huge game. What do you make of that matchup?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's the weather element, right? The Dolphins, I don't think Tua's ever want to start where it's been under 40 degrees. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be that cold in Green Bay. But yeah, to your point, they are right back in it. And here's the funny part. You know, Tua's, they've been good lately, but that offense, and a lot of it's because Tua wasn't in. Their offense is 24th in the league in scoring. Their defense is 11th. And I think that's what people forget. Like them in Chicago have good defenses. Like the Bears are 8th in the league in scoring defense. In Miami, when you really look at it, they're great on possession downs. They're 5th in the league. They're 7th in the red zone. So, yeah, I mean, this could be a really good game. And where they've really shined is pass defense. And so, you know, this is where Josh Jacobs, I think, could be I'm picking the Packers in this game. I think one of the biggest reasons why is I do think the cold weather is going to affect Miami's passing game. And I just think at this point, the Packers have a better run game for sure with Josh Jacobs. And rightfully, we're all talking about how, you know, Barkley's in the MVP conversation. Derrick Henry's in the MVP conversation for running backs. But a little bit more quietly, Josh Jacobs is really doing some really, really good things. And I think he's going to be the big factor in that game. But to your point, Miami is certainly making some headway right now, but I like the Packers in that game.
Ryan Diardo joins us here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. The NFC West, definitely the tightest of all the divisions in football. 4 teams within one game of each other. Seattle and Arizona are 6-5. The Rams and the 49ers are 5-6. 49ers injuries have crushed them all season long. When you look at the remaining schedule and you look at those teams, who do you like to win that division?
Wow, I go back and forth. I really, really do. And so I'm gonna go with the Niners because I don't, as you could tell by my voice, I'm not confident in anything I'm saying. And they're all pretty relatively the same as far as toughness. I mean, you look at the Niners remaining schedule, Buffalo at Buffalo Sunday, that's going to be a tough game. Chicago at home, Rams at home, then at Miami, Detroit, and Arizona. I mean, that's pretty brutal. They all have pretty brutal schedules. So really, it's more about which team do you have more faith in. And, you know, I think I'm actually going to change it. I'm going to go with Seattle because when I look at the Niners, their next 2 games are pretty tough. If they can get past Buffalo, they might be okay. But as I said, then they got to go to Miami. Then they have Detroit. And Detroit at that point is going to be gunning for that number 1 seed.
Yep.
The reason why I like Seattle is they have had the most luck with health. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba, their former number 1 pick, he's kind of emerged as the number 1 receiver. And DK Metcalf has kind of become the complementary guy. And as long as their running game can stay healthy, and Charbonnet's kind of caught on with Walker being out, and that defense has gotten better too. So, again, I'm not totally sold. If everybody was just healthy, I would go with the Niners, obviously. I mean, I'm really impressed with what Arizona did lately, but it seems like that offense and that team's starting to come down to earth a little bit. I'm not giving up on Arizona for sure, but I think Seattle's going to win just because I think that there's enough continuity there. The biggest question is Geno Smith's going to take care of the ball? He struggles with that a lot, but if he can do a better job taking care of the ball, I like Seattle in that division.
Okay. What the Philadelphia Eagles took a lot of flack early on this season, and rightfully so. They had some head scratching decisions from Sirianno at key times in games, but they've really got things going. And them in Detroit look like the clear 2 best teams. Baltimore's in a stretch here where they're just playing big team after big team, and they had a big win against the Chargers. Now they host the Eagles. Who do you like in that game and why?
Man, good question. You're killing me here because I struggle with the NFC West, and you know what? I'm gonna go with Baltimore. Okay. I'm gonna go with Baltimore because I really like Philadelphia. I really like their team. Obviously, with Barkley, they're tough. And and again, when Jalen Hurts has his complementary pieces, when he has both of his receivers, Smith and Brown and Barkley, they're really tough to beat. I really like the Eagles. But I think Baltimore is figuring it out. When I watched that Monday night game, because in all honesty, I think Baltimore is the best team in the AFC, maybe the NFL, because of the talent they have with Lamar, with that defense, with Derrick Henry. The receivers, I think, are just good enough that their tight ends have caught on. That secondary is struggling to stop the pass, even though it's gotten better the last couple of games. But I think when you look at them so far, they've shot themselves in the foot. They're better than the Steelers. They should have beaten the Steelers 2 weeks ago. They had 2 missed field goals. Now, I will say again, their kicking has to get better for sure. Tucker's got to figure that out, but I think they're the most complete team. And I think the thing that really impressed me with their win Monday was they were kind of struggling at the beginning, and then they just settled into the running game. They settled into the run. They settled in with Derrick Henry. They got a nice touchdown with Justice Hill, their backup, which, that was big to me because they haven't been giving the ball to anybody much other than Henry and Lamar. So
yes,
as long as they don't beat themselves, I think they can win this game. And they're good at stopping the run. So Barkley shouldn't really be a factor. It's going to come down to Jalen Hurts with that defense. And I think if Baltimore's pass rush can get home, which it has lately, I think they can win this game.
The Kansas City Chiefs are 10-1. And I see a lot of people say it's like the least impressive 10-1. And they do just enough to win, which is what they just did last weekend against Carolina. But they always find ways to win, Brian. And I look at that, and there's something to be said about it. Obviously, Arrowhead in the playoffs is a very difficult place to win, except maybe if you're Joe Burrow. And if you look at Buffalo and all these other teams, like, what do you mean? Like, are the Chiefs, is it just regular season? You're like, yeah, but, or you're just like, damn, they're not even playing that well, and they still don't lose.
Here's the thing to me, and I think this is kind of like my beef with NFL fans, and I don't know if hockey, it's the same way. Like, look at Sunday's game against Carolina. I watched that game.
Yeah.
And I saw people that didn't watch just look at the score and go, oh, the Chiefs just laid an egg and they stunk. That, to me, was more Carolina played really well. And as Andy Reid told his guys after the game, we're going to get everybody's best punch. And I think that's one thing where, I mean, the Florida Panthers or the Oilers, since they won their conference, they almost won the cup, they face that every night. They're going to get every team's best punch. And I think when you look at the Chiefs season from that lens, I think it's more impressive. And to your point, they won a game in week 4, 17-10. They won week 1, 30 or 27-20. They won this past Sunday, 30-27. So they can win, any which way. Now, all that being said, yeah, they struggled against the Bills. They lost. Tampa Bay, another playoff contender. They lost to, or they won, but they needed overtime, right? Atlanta back in week 3, they barely won and got some luck in that game. So I will say this: when you look at their entire schedule, yeah, they have a lot of wins against good teams, but they're all one-score games. They're all kind of, like you said, kind of ugly. So I don't usually love. I love that they're finding ways to win, as you said. That being said, what's their bread and butter? What is their identity? If they like, to me, I don't like if you say, okay, if we play too high safety and contain Mahomes, is Kareem Hunt going to beat you? Is Isaiah Pacheco going to beat you? The answer is no. That defense is really good, but as we just saw with Carolina, you can beat that defense if you're patient and you take your shots. And the other thing is too, which Carolina did, you've got to stay committed to the running game. They did not stop giving the ball to Hubbard when they fell behind by 2 scores. And so that's why I went with Baltimore, because you can and we just saw with the Chargers, they were stopping the pass with Lamar. They went with the run, and that opened up the passing later on. And then when both cylinders are firing, you cannot beat the Baltimore Ravens. And so, yeah, I mean, but the one outlier I will say, that defense is still really good, and that offensive line is still good. And Patrick Mahomes is the best player on the planet. So I say that they're not my favorite, but they're going to be a tough out is my way to answer that question.
Yeah, and that's fair. The Chiefs, I think there's some people that just get tired of the team always winning, and I get it. The Patriots had it, the Yankees before them, right? Tampa Bay in the NHL. Eventually fans like, okay, enough, someone else go. And so you want them to lose, but they might not statistically be the most dominant team, but man, they don't make the key mistake at the key time of the game. They always seem to find a way to make the play that can be a deciding factor in the game.
Right. And I will say it's highway robbery that the Titans traded them DeAndre Hopkins. It just is. Why would you help? Again, I think I made this metaphor recently. It's like in 1988, if you gave the Oilers like Lemieux or Trottier or someone like that, like, why would you do that? You wouldn't do that. Like, they're already too good. But yeah, their calmness, I think, is what really interests me. And you could even see it on Sunday. They weren't stressed. They weren't panicked. It was almost like, it's like Patrick understood, okay, that's the kind of game this is going to be, game on. And I almost think they enjoyed it. I almost think they liked the close games.
Oh,
it's a little adrenaline thing.
Yes.
And so, no, and I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm really not. I think it's really cool what they're doing. And yeah, they just keep finding ways. And And the overall, again, and you guys, Wayne Gretzky's, I'm a Penguin fan, but I will give Wayne Gretzky the title as the greatest hockey player ever. When you have somebody that's just that great, that belief that in him, I think can go a long way, and the Chiefs obviously have that.
Yeah, that's very well said, Brian. Great stuff, man. So I love having you on. Really appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, likewise. Same to you. That's
Brian Diardo joining us from CBS Sport. Huge hockey guy, too. I love it. Love it. Mixing hockey and football together. It's fantastic. 5:45. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. We'll return. By the way, next week on the Business of Sport, we got a lot of texts coming in on it. Very much appreciate it. So thank you very much. You enjoy it. But we got back-to-back. So we got Who Is It Wednesday next week that I think you're all going to love. Like, there's going to be some unbelievable stories in Who Is It Wednesday. And then the Business of Sport with myself and Rich Winter, and our guest, somebody, a former Oiler, that everybody kind of want to wonder, well, what happened? Well, you'll find out next Wednesday. It's going to be back-to-back from 3 o'clock. Who Is It Wednesday? 4 o'clock, the Business of Sports. You're going to love it. Take a quick break. We'll return, wrap things up in the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
My utility bills are going through the roof. How can I take advantage of the sun and put my lazy roof to work?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Energy team reporting. When you're ready to make your home or business more efficient, Action Electrical has the power to install solar panel systems and EV chargers.
Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta with supercharged skills and strong family values. ActionElectrical.net.
A bedtime story by Zachary Martin Hyman.
The hockey game's over. The Zamboni sleeps soon. I lay down in comfort. Legacy heating my room. Good night to you, furnace, with your hot blower running. Good night to you, air vents, keeping the warm air coming. Good night to my payments that I won't see for 1 year. Good night to my legacy. Bedtime is near.
Warm winter nights. That's how you soothe your legacy. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meats, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste, fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
Diablo Boots in Canada West. Two great names in working cowboy boots. For over 60 years, Diablo has been selling the best-made Canadian boots. Diablo has boots from sizes 6E to size 15 EE, just for you. Why buy boots made in China like Ariat, Justin, or Red Wing, when Diablo has the best quality for less, made in Canada? Diablo has working cowboy boots with replaceable soles and heels for longer life. So, save on boots by Save On Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard, on the east side of Save On Foods. Hurry in today for best selection.
At Pizza 73, we know that hunger happens. 1 minute you're wrapping presents, untangling Christmas lights, and thinking of a new place to put that elf. And next you're eating a box of candy canes because you've never been this hungry in your life. That's why we made the Pizza 73 Holiday Helper Deal. You get 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas, and 4 pieces of cheesecake for just $25.49. The Pizza 73 Holiday Helper, because hunger happens.
Pizza 73.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and we have hundreds of RVs to show you. Now, fall is not the traditional time to buy an RV, but here's a pro tip. Every used RV is a one-of-a-kind, and one of them is perfect for you. But you never know when you're going to find it.
Especially if you have a lot of must-haves and deal breakers on your wish list.
That's right, Bob. Used RV buyers are picky, looking for just the right one. I'm not saying the RVs on our lot now are any better than the ones we'll have in the spring. They're not, but they are different. The ones on our lot today will be gone by spring.
Be a shame if the perfect one got away.
That's what I'm getting at, Bob. If you find one you like, put a ring on it. No Bull makes it ridiculously easy because we'll pay for winterization, storage, and get it all ready for you next year. All you need to do is show up in the spring and it'll be ready for your first adventure. Couldn't be easy.
And that's No Bull.
NobleRV.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. The Canada-wide clearance is on now at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on a 2024 Sierra 1500 crew cab elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
We roll through a busy Wednesday. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. PlayAlberta.ca, of course, our title sponsor. We always appreciate their support in the show. Use the promo code Gregor50 if you're looking for a little good luck. You get a free $50 play. Tonight, 15 games in the NHL. Of course, tomorrow, a triple header in the NFL. It is, of course, Thanksgiving. And then the Order fans, it feels like forever, doesn't it? They haven't played since Saturday. It was a 6-2 win, and they will be in Utah tomorrow. The Oilers will have one final practice. Don't expect Arvidsson and Hyman to be ready to go this weekend. Maybe next Tuesday in Vegas, but they're going to have to skate. You know, if one of them, if they're on the ice tomorrow, I think maybe there's a chance for next Tuesday. Because they play Friday, Saturday, there's no practicing. Or bare minimum, they got to be skating Sunday, Monday. Like, you got to get some skates in before they're going to play. I don't see them just suddenly coming out and away they go. So we'll see some early scores. The Wild are up in Buffalo. Kirill the Thrill got his 14th of the season. Dylan Holloway has a pair of goals. The Blues lead the Devils 3-0. Rangers and Hurricanes are tied at 1. And Marty Necas, his 36th point of the season, leads the NHL. Braden Point has his 13th goal. They lead the Capitals 1-0. The Florida Panthers up at home 2-0 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Boston Bruins, after getting shut out last night, Brad Marchand pops a pair of goals in the first 6 minutes, and they lead the Islanders 2-0. Penguins up on the Canucks 1-0. You've got no score between Columbus and Montreal. And then some games starting later on, a few of the West Coast ones, still 6 to go. The late game will have the Senators in San Jose to take on Macklin Celebrini, who is on fire right now, the youngster for the San Jose Sharks. A lot of text flying in, 833-401-1440. Hey, guys, after listening to Holland, I have no idea how any fan cannot appreciate how good of a GM he is and was. He's always been open and honest and very astute. Refreshing to hear this. That one comes from Noel. Hey, guys, Austin's segment earlier, very interesting. Love it. Hey, Greg's great interview with Ken Holland. Can you let him know that Order fans really love the work he did and what he did with our team in a short window? I did send that text to him, in fact. Guys, we are very fortunate to have had Ken Holland here. People forget how awful our GM record was prior and that people are clamoring for a stability style GM. And then we get one. And as usual, Edmonton picked his time here apart. I think it was just what we needed after Tambo and Chio did less than nothing. And guys, why didn't he sign Broberg and Holloway? Well, Broberg didn't want to sign. He wanted to trade. Holloway? Fair question. Right? They probably thought, hey, you know what? We'll sign him after the playoffs. I don't think they thought he was going to get a dual offer sheet. And hey, it happens. Now, keep in mind that he wasn't with the team once the playoffs ended. So at that point, from the time the playoffs ended, you had a week to sign Holloway. They didn't get it done. And that's when the offer sheet came available. So it happens. Got to move on. You're not going to, not every player you're going to get signed. In the case of Holloway, once they got to July 1st and other teams could talk to him about what they were doing, obviously that's why he waited. The Oilers did make him some offers, but obviously the Blues offered him more. On behalf of Connor Halley, I'm Jason Gregor. Have yourselves an awesome Wednesday evening. Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter. LegacyHeating.ca. Good night.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Busy night in the NHL. 15 games on the schedule. The following are at the first intermission. Wild up on the Sabres 1-0. The Blues, with a pair of goals from Dylan Holloway, lead the Devils 3-0. Rangers and Canes tied at 1 apiece. Midway through the first, the Red Wings up on the Flames 1-0. Lightning have a 1-0 lead over the Capitals. And the Panthers lead the Leafs 2-0. Bruins up on the Islanders by 2 as well. And out in Pittsburgh, Penguins and the Canucks tied at 1. Scoreless in Columbus between the Jackets and the Canadiens. Later tonight, Preds taking on the Flyers. The Stars in Chicago. Avs host the Golden Knights. Jets taking on the Kings. Ducks in Seattle. And the Sharks will host the Ottawa Senators in the association. Busy night. The Toronto Raptors are in action. They'll take on the Pelicans. Tip off in about 10 minutes time. The Heat up on the Hornets 39-37. Cavs lead the Hawks 52-50. Trailblazers have a 46-39 lead over the Pacers, and the Clippers are on the Wizards 49-42. Later tonight, Kings, Timberwolves, Grizz, and Pistons. The Lakers in San Antonio. Suns taking on the Nets, Nuggets, and Jazz, and the Warriors hosting the OKC Thunder. Montreal Alouettes signing quarterback Davis Alexander to a 3-year contract extension. The 26-year-old was set to become a free agent in February. He had a breakout season in 2024, posting a 5-0 record while starting for the injured Cody Fajardo. And former New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones, who was cut by the team last Friday, plans to sign with the Minnesota Vikings. CHL News, the Memorial Cup for 2026 was handed to the Kelowna Rockets. Coming up next year on Sports 1440, we've got Fox Sports Radio tomorrow morning, live coverage beginning at 7 a.m. with the Kevin Carius Show. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a